I think I'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order at 10 a.m. As many of you know, the governor has recently signed Public Act 101-0640, making certain amendments to the Open Meetings Act, so that we, along with other boards and commissions, can continue to host virtual meetings during this COVID-19 public health emergency, provided that certain conditions are met. One of those conditions is that I, as head of the Chicago Plan Commission, determined that an in-person meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission is not practical nor prudent. I want to make sure our virtual meeting meets all the conditions of the Open Meetings Act as amended. Therefore, I am making a determination pursuant to the newly created Section 7E2 of the Open Meetings Act that an in-person meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission is not practical nor prudent. Similarly, I am also making a determination pursuant to the newly created Section 7E5 that because of the disaster as declared by the governor, it is unfeasible for at least one member of the Chicago Plan Commission or its chief administrative officer or its chief legal officer to be physically present at the meeting place in as much as there is no physical meeting place. Before we get into the full meeting agenda for the December 12, 2022 Chicago Plan Commission meeting, I would like to ask everyone that because we are meeting virtually, please be mindful of your surroundings in terms of noise. Please remember to keep yourself muted when you're not speaking. The meeting is being recorded and also live streamed for public viewing. Lastly, if you are an active participant in the meeting, especially if you're speaking, please do not watch the live stream as this will cause audio interference. Thank you. I want to also provide guidance quickly to those who have pre-registered to provide testimony on the cases presented for public hearing today. Those who requested to testify at the Plan Commission today should have already submitted testimony forms, which included the speaker's full name and address, as well as the public hearing item number for those who have been gathered by the staff. I would also like to remind our presenters to please be mindful of their presentation length and to please stay on point in a concise and efficient manner so as to respect the time of all in attendance. Out of respect to others, speakers should please limit your comments to 3 minutes. When your name is called, your microphone will be unmuted to allow you to make your comments. Please attempt to refrain from repeating comments that have already been made by previous speakers. The public comment portion of the meeting is not a question and answer session of the staff or the applicant, but an opportunity for attendees to voice their opinions on a particular proposal. Out of respect for others, please do not interrupt or disrupt the speakers. Any individual who disrupts the presentation or any subsequent comment session may be muted and removed from the virtual hearing session. We will now call the roll. Commissioner Barclay.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Biaggi.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Brumfield.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Burnett. I don't think he's here yet. Commissioner Cox. Not here. Commissioner Escareño.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores here. Commissioner Garza. Not seeing him. Commissioner Lightfoot, not here. Commissioner Lyons.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Murphy.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Novara. Not here
Chairwoman,
yet.
I'm promoting her to panelist right now, so she should.
Okay.
Just a second.
Commissioner
Oh, I
Novara.
just was promoted. I'm here.
Thank you. We have you. Commissioner Osterman. Not here. Commissioner Piñeiro.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Reyes.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Soto.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Esposato. Not here. Commissioner Tillman.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Tunney.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Villegas. Not here. Commissioner Wagensbeck. Not here. Okay, we will now approve the minutes from the November 17, 2022 regularly scheduled Plan Commission meeting. The minutes were distributed prior to today's hearing. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regularly scheduled meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission held on November 17, 2022?
So moved, Biagi.
Thank you. I have a move by Biagi, a second.
Seconded by Lyons.
Thank you, Commissioner Lyons. Roll call vote on the minutes. Commissioner Barclay.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Biagi.
Yes.
So yes, thank you. Commissioner Brumfield.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Burnett. Still not here. Okay. Commissioner Cox. Not here. Commissioner Escareño.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores is a yes. Commissioner Garza. Not here. Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Novara.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Piñeiro.
Abstained.
Okay. Abstain. Commissioner Reyes.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Soto.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Tillman.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Tunney.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes for the minutes. We will now approve the proposed Plan Commission meeting calendar for the 2023 year. The proposed dates occurring on the third Thursday of each month were distributed prior to today's hearing. Do I have a motion to approve the 2023 Chicago Plan Commission schedule?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Lyons. Do I have a second?
Second by Reyes.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Roll call vote on the calendar. Commissioner Barclay.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Biagi.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Brumfield.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Escareño.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores is a yes. Commissioner Lyons, can you confirm?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Novara.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Piñeiro.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Reyes, can you confirm?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Soto.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Tillman.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Tunney.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Commissioner Burnett vote
Commission-
yes.
Thank you. I have you now. Thank you. We will now take public testimony for the items on the agenda today. We have received speaking forms from 5 individuals for items on today's agenda. And they're all for the first item, item D1. The first speaker is Mr. Brian Israel, again, to speak on item D1 at 643-741 West Chicago Avenue. The second speaker is Mr. Butler Adams to speak on item D1 as well. The third speaker is Mr. Les Bernal to speak on item D1. The fourth speaker is Mr. Jonathan Snyder to speak on item D1. And the final speaker signed up is Ms. Kimmy Jordan to speak on item D1. Is Mr. Brian Israel ready to speak?
I don't see Brian Israel. I have someone raised hand.
Kamal, it's Noah. It's the RNRA list. He didn't change his
Oh,
name,
okay.
but it's RNRA.
Okay.
I am ready.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Brian Israel with the River North Residents Association. Though the proposed amendment to PD 1426 would lower FAR for the entire 30-acre site, this reduction is limited to sub-area A. The remaining 2/3 of the site could see dramatic increases in density as FAR is shifted from the northeast to the south and west. Sub-area C, south of the Ohio feeder, would see a 21% increase in max FAR and a 74% increase in max dwelling units. Sub-area B, west of Jefferson, would see a 30% increase in FAR and a nearly 10-fold increase in dwelling units. Maximum units for the entire site would increase 46% from 4,099 to 6,000. When added to 5 other developments near the Bally's site, the combined projects include up to 10,497 dwelling units, 1,506 hotel rooms, and 2.7 million square feet of commercial space, all in an already densely populated area of less than a third of a square mile. While increased density maximizes economic value for owners and developers, it also amplifies the impact on surrounding neighborhoods, increases congestion, and strains already overtaxed infrastructure. We recommend reducing max FAR and dwelling units, increasing the area for natural landscaping and open space, and imposing reasonable triggers to control future development. Additionally, during the December 5 town hall meeting, presenters referred to the planned inclusion of many dedicated lanes in or around the site for bikes, charter buses, and public transit. While RNRA supports safe multimodal transit options, with already steadily increasing traffic volume, it's difficult to see how the streets within and or around the site can be configured in such a way as to keep pedestrians safe, maximize capacity for passenger vehicles, and add dedicated lanes. Finally, the recently announced sale-leaseback deal between Bally's and a private equity firm changes the nature and risk profile of the project by changing the property owner at this late stage. This transaction, as well as Oak Street Capital and its New York parent, should be subject to the same rigorous vetting by the city and the IGB as the original financing terms and property owners. We appreciate the willingness of the Bally's organization and the city to engage in constructive dialogue and look forward to further conversations, both directly and through the Casino Community Advisory Committee, about project improvements to reduce negative impacts on the surrounding community and the natural environment. Thanks for this opportunity and for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Israel. Next is Mr. Adams.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Butler Adams. I am in support of this project. I sent a letter of support in. It was a little bit late, so it's not on the website, but I believe it was forwarded to you, so I'll just read it real quick. Again, my name is Butler Adams. I am composing this letter in support of the Bally's Casino and the project PD of 1426. I was able to attend a lot of the public meetings and presentations regarding this project back in April, as well as the recent meetings at Medina Temple and December 5th meeting. I'm not disappointed at this location, and I hope that infrastructure improvements and intersection improvements will help facilitate a better traffic flow and circulation within the area. As an architectural guide on the Chicago River, I welcome the continued transformation of the pedestrian waterfront into pedestrian promenades and active spaces. I hope that programming is designed to keep the Riverwalk active year-round. Regarding the overall proposal and plan development, I do have some questions and comments. I spoke in favor of this PD 1426 of the River District back in 2018. The current proposal calls for an overall reduction of 1.8 million square feet from the PD and a reduction of 1.6 from the FAR. Personally, I think it's foolish. I'm against kind of what the first speaker said, that it's too dense. It's not too dense. Personally, I think you should get rid of the height limitations of 600 or 650 feet, go vertical, keep that FAR in there and help the city financially. But again, I am in favor of this proposal. How many affordable units are we losing out with 1.8 million square feet? How much tax revenue is that we're losing? Do not reduce proposal. In fact, developers should be able to allow to buy into that density, which would help South by West program. That would really help. In terms of the architecture, I really hope the western facade of this building is really looked at, really cool, really good. It has not been shown to have a very nice facade, perhaps some ivy, a photovoltaic lenses, something like that to help the building, put some solar panels on the rooftop. This is going to help the city as a whole. My family owns a 6 flat in Woodlawn, and property taxes are going up, and any new revenue to the city will help all taxpayers, including myself and my parents. So I am for this proposal. I know that Alderman Raleigh's probably going to speak against it. I do hope that it overcomes some of the negative aspects that has been put forward towards it. I hope it's approved. And again, I would like to thank Alderman Burnett for all the things that he has done for the city and for the ward with all this new developments, really helping out the city, and it's helping to repopulate the city as well. But my time is running down. I hope you all approve this project, and thank you so very much for your time. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Next, we have Mr. Bernal.
Hi, everyone. My name is Les Burnell. I'm the National Director for Stop Predatory Gambling, which is based in Washington, D.C. And our mission is to reveal the truth behind commercialized gambling operators to prevent more victims. And prior to the work I've been doing now for the last 15 years, prior to that, I was the chairman of the Planning Commission in the city where I live in Massachusetts. So I'm very familiar with the seat you sit in and understand the work you do. There's several reasons why no credible graduate level urban planning program in the United States, when discussing the future of American cities, includes casinos as part of a successful vision. And I'm just going to briefly focus on 3 of the reasons why that's the case. The first reason is this: there's an incredible misperception about what the casino business is in America today. What separates the casino business from every other business in our country, including other vices like alcohol and tobacco, is it's a big con. Okay, if you go out and you order a slice of pizza, you have a glass of wine, you go to a Cubs game, a White Sox game, that's what you receive in return. And the casino business, the commercialized gambling business, is a financial exchange. Okay, that's the heart of it. And it's a financial exchange that's mathematically stacked against you. So the longer you participate in it, the more frequently you participate in it, you lose all your money. It's designed to get you fleeced. Success in that business only comes at someone else's expense. So it's a form of consumer financial fraud, just like price gouging and false advertising. Okay, that's what makes this business different than every other business. The second reason why no graduate level program includes casinos as a vision is what this product is before you has been publicly identified by the American Psychiatric Association as a dangerous and addictive product, okay, in the DSM-5, just like opioids, heroin, and cocaine. That's how it's classified, okay? The DSM-5 is the mental health Bible in our country. So health insurance companies use it, medical providers use it, yet why would you be bringing in this dangerous and addictive product into the heart of your city, okay? There's more than a dozen studies over the last 12 years that show citizens who are addicted make up 40 to 60% of gambling profits. And my last question is this: I've heard some incredible quotes about this project in Chicago. That they're comparing it to McCormick Place in terms of its significance. In 15 years of this national fight, that's the most blatantly dishonest thing I've ever heard. Did McCormick Place make the citizens of Chicago poorer by getting citizens to lose millions of dollars of their personal wealth, like a casino will? Did McCormick Place create a new wave of homelessness in the city? Of course it didn't. Did it allow criminal gangs in the city an opportunity to launder money profits, creating even more crime? It didn't do any of those things, okay? This city is filled with so many great projects. If the city is built here, if the project is built here, there's no one in Chicago 20 years from now who's going to say this body showed a lot of vision. So I ask you to vote no on this project, and 20 years from now, they will applaud you for the vision you showed by voting no. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, Mr. Bernal. Next, we have Mr. Snyder.
Good morning, Chairperson Flores and members of the Plan Commission.
Good morning.
My name is Jonathan Snyder, and I'm the Executive Director of North Branch Works, celebrating our 40th anniversary of promoting balanced, job-creating economic development along the North Branch. We also sit on the Chicago Casino and Lincoln Yards Community Advisory Councils. I hope our letter was shared with the Plan Commission. Although we have several concerns, which I will highlight below, we support the amendment to PD 1426. Located at 701 West Erie Street for 50 years, Water Saver Faucets employs 250 people in family-sustaining manufacturing jobs. This company provides 80% of the faucets used in labs throughout the world, including the labs that developed the COVID-19 vaccines. The amended PD calls for Erie Street to be connected to Jefferson Street, and the through traffic will greatly impact Water Saver, the trucks that make deliveries to Water Saver. As this will greatly impact a large employer, we have urged the city against connecting Erie Street. The mayor's office, along with CDOT Commissioner Biaggi and 27th Ward Alderman Burnett, have pledged to work with us to find a solution agreeable to all stakeholders. We are glad that the city is taking this concern seriously. Prairie Materials, located at Chicago and Halstead, has one of the most productive concrete yards in the state. Their trucks can run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week when needed. Because concrete is a perishable item which must be delivered within 1 hour, and because Prairie uses the river for delivery of raw materials, they are uniquely located to support development in the city and were deemed a critical service in the North Branch Framework Plan. We appreciate the city's recognition of the importance of this business, and we would encourage CDOT to install an actuated traffic light at Peoria and Chicago to enable Prairie trucks to safely get onto Chicago Avenue with the additional traffic created by the casino and entertainment district. Lastly, with over 12,500 new residential units developing in the next 10 years from various projects along the North Branch, we would have preferred for the amendment to reduce residential instead of expanding it to allow up to 4,799 units. However, the overall net reduction in developable area, combined with the long-term commitment from the city to work with CTA for public transit improvements, represents an opportunity for this site to coexist with adjacent businesses. We are thankful that the team at Bally's, the mayor's office, and Alderman Burnett have heard our concerns regarding the issues that impact the industrial businesses which call the North Branch home. The Bally's team was proactive in reaching out to our organization, met with businesses early in the process, toured adjacent sites, and have committed to being good neighbors for the long term. Deputy Mayor Myakar and Commissioner Biaggi are working with us to resolve the above concerns. And given the strength of Bally's team and commitments from the mayor's office and CDOT, we can support the proposed change to PD 1426. We will continue serving on the Community Advisory Council and working with our neighborhood partners to ensure the project's success. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Next, we have Ms. Jordan.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kimmy Jordan, and I hope that you will vote in favor of the Chicago Casino. I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, and now I live in the back of the yards in the 16th Ward. I am a proud member of Unite Here Local 1, Chicago's hospitality union. Our members live in all 50 wards. Most of us are women, and most of us are people of color. The Unite Here Chicago Hospitality Institute recruits and trains apprentices from traditionally underserved population for its Department of Labor Registered Apprenticeship Program, the first kind in the state of Illinois. The Unite Here Chicago Hospitality Institute recent culinary apprentices were 40% African-American, 40% Hispanic or Latino, 8% Asian Pacific Islanders. I, like many other hospitality workers, was laid off when the pandemic hit 2 years ago. I am now back at work at a downtown hotel, but a lot of my coworkers still haven't been called back to their good jobs and are starting their lives all over again. The Chicago Casino will give hospitality workers like me get a chance at a new beginning, a chance not only to go back to the industry that they love, but also the knowledge that they'll be able to take care of their families. Having a good union job changed my life for the better. More union, good paying hospitality jobs for workers like me will put more money into my neighborhood and lift up my community. Again, I hope that you will vote yes for the Chicago Casino. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Do we have any other members of the public who wish to make a public comment at this time? Please raise your hand in the Zoom window and we will call your name in the order that they appear.
Chairwoman, we have Lonnie Bonds.
Okay.
Hello. I am speaking today in regards to the proposed zoning change at 1226 West Augusta Boulevard. My name is Lonnie Bonds, and I did submit a letter for review. I believe it was over the weekend and not knowing that the meeting was going to be this morning. So my apologies, but hopefully that can be shared. In the meantime, I'll read what I wrote. I'm a longtime neighbor and owner of the eastern adjacent property at 1224 West Augusta, together with Stefan Fayen, who is the western adjacent property owner at 1228 Augusta. The neighbors of River West and I have been working for several years with the developer to reach an agreement on plans for the subject lot. At this time, we feel the plans for the proposed building at 1226 West Augusta do fit the character of the neighborhood. In the past, there have been some developers in the area that have constructed buildings far larger than what was proposed and shared with the neighbors when seeking our support for a zoning amendment. As assurance that the situation will not arise in this case, the developer at 1226 West Augusta has agreed to a restrictive covenant that will limit any new construction to the currently approved plans. They have assured us they will record this restrictive covenant with the PIN and it will run with the land. I have attached a copy of the fully executed agreement for your review and consideration. With this agreement in place, we, the immediate neighbors to the east and west of the subject lot, are in support of the plans and a zoning amendment for 1226 West Augusta to allow its construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonds. And I think we have one more person, correct?
We have John Bosca.
Good morning. Thanks for the accommodation and allowing us to participate with this. My name is John Bosca. I'm President Emeritus of Neighbors of River West. I've been involved with River West and Neighborhood Association for over 30 years now. In addition to that, I'm also part of the Chicago Advisory Council, which I am also the chair. I look forward to the work in front of us in order to make this development a success, including a casino at Chicago and the river. I just want to remind you that River West is an island. Around us are a number of obstacles, a number of places that you have to cross. There's bridges, there's viaducts, there's ingress egress ramps all around us that have to be traversed in order to get through River West and get to the casino. In addition to that, we recognize that there is basically a moat that goes around the River North area. It's a Chicago River. It's on the west side, it's on the south side, and there's a lake on the east side over there. We understand that there is an opportunity in the worst case conditions to close it down. We saw that during the summer of unrest, where access to the loop and other areas was taken into consideration. One of the biggest things that people are looking at right now is the traffic. There's many remedies to development in this area that can alleviate traffic and improve traffic throughput here. River West is looking at and has looked at these over the years, along with what used to be the lead council is now the North Branch. Our work began with them long ago, as well as with Alderman Burnett. River West also looks at not just the development that's happening around the casino properties or these PDs, but we're also looking at Hubbard and Kinsey and the amount of units that are coming in there. I asked that the city would create a mechanism, not just in one PD, but for all these PDs, some kind of infrastructure plan, as well as a capital plan in order to accommodate all the work that needs to be done here, and put together a menu as well as a matrix. So as development happens, we know some of the next things that will be done in order to accommodate the traffic. Also, we look forward to working with the folks on the temporary casino to learn what works and what doesn't work over there and implement those into this new casino. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bosca. Are there any other members of the public that wish to make a comment at this time? I'll give them a few seconds. Okay, not seeing any more hands go up. Next on the agenda are matters submitted in accordance with the Interagency Planning Referral Act. Do I have a motion to approve item number 1 disposition heading and item number 2 under the ANLAP heading.
So moved. Escareño.
Thank you, Commissioner Escareño. Do I have a second?
Second, Novara.
Thank you, Commissioner Navarra. Roll call vote. Commissioner Barclay.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Biaggi.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Brumfield.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Burnett.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Escareño, can you confirm?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores is a yes. Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Novara, can you confirm?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Piñeiro.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Reyes.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Soto.
Yes.
Commissioner Tillman.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Tunney.
Yes.
Thank you. And I see Commissioner Villegas.
Yes.
Thank you. And motion passes on that. Now we will move on to the public hearing presentation portion for matters submitted in accordance with the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance and or the Chicago Zoning Ordinance. The first item on the agenda is D1, a proposed amendment to Air Rights Waterway Business Residential Plan Development number 1426, submitted by Bally's Chicago Operating Company, LLC, for the property generally located at 643-741 West Chicago Avenue and 641-739 North Halsted. The applicant is proposing to rezone the site from Air Rights Waterway Business Residential Plan Development number 1426 to Air Rights Waterway Business Residential Plan Development number 1426 as amended. The resulting proposal will be divided into sub-areas for phase development. The first phase of the development will include a casino, hotel, entertainment venue, and various commercial uses. The overall development is proposed to be 6.2 FAR. This includes a neighborhood opportunity bonus of 1.2 FAR, and this is in the 27th Ward. Noah Safranek will provide the context overview and the applicant will present their proposal.
Good morning, Chairwoman and fellow Plan Commissioners. Thank you. For the record, again, my name is Noah Safranek. I'm with the Department of Planning and Development. And this proposed development, as mentioned, is generally located at 643 to 741 West Chicago Avenue. The site is located within the Westtown community area, located within the 27th Ward. The applicant, Bally's Chicago Operating Company, LLC, and their development team appear here today for the purposes of amending Air Rights Waterway Business Residential Plan Development number 1426, which was previously established at the subject site pursuant to ordinance. This request is being submitted as a mandatory plan development application due to the fact that the proposal seeks to amend a previously adopted plan development, utilize air rights within the plan development, provide for the development of land within 100 feet of the Chicago River, contain development of land using an underlying DX5 designation that allows for more than 150 dwelling units, and lastly, that seeks to utilize the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund bonus to increase the floor area ratio. The subject site is shown on the map with a red star. It is situated within the Central Planning Region, the Westtown community area, the River West neighborhood, and the 27th Ward. Based on the July 2022 Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning data snapshot, the Westtown community area population is just shy of 88,000 people, with 45% of those being between the ages of 20 and 34 years of age. The River West neighborhood is situated just a short way east of the Kennedy Expressway, immediately adjacent to the west of the Chicago River, and is bisected down the center by railroad tracks owned by the Union Pacific Railroad. The subject site is situated at the southeast corner of the intersection of West Chicago Avenue as the northern boundary and North Halsted Street on the western boundary. The subject site is situated within the North Branch Industrial Corridor, and as such is subject to the North Branch Framework Plan, which was adopted by the City of Chicago through recommendation of this Plan Commission in May of 2017. One of the key actions of the modernization plan was to rezone northern and southern portions of the North Branch Industrial Corridor to allow for a dynamic mix of uses that had previously been prohibited within the planned manufacturing district zoning. This designation does remain on the central portion of the corridor where key critical service uses exist. The applicant will speak a bit about their compliance with this plan later in their presentation. This subject site is currently zoned plan development number 1426, with that designation having been adopted in 2018 because of a recommendation from this plan commission and subsequent committee on zoning and city council approvals. As mentioned previously, the applicant is here to amend that designation. The slide above contains a few context images of how the site appears today. In the top left corner is a view standing just south of the existing Tribune building, looking south down the Chicago River. On the top right corner is a view standing along the river edge, looking back to the north at the Tribune building. On the bottom left is an image taken just west of the site at the intersection of Superior and Green Street, looking back east to the subject site. And lastly, on the bottom right, an image taken from the vantage point of the north side of Chicago Avenue, looking back south at the subject site. The project site highlighted on this slide in orange is situated in a well-serviced transit area. The subject site has automobile access from city streets and state highways, bicycle access from protected bike lanes along Milwaukee and Elston just to the west of the subject site, as well as various other bike lanes located in the vicinity of the subject site. It has CTA transit service from 2 stations on the Blue Line located about a half a mile away, a station on the Brown Line and Purple Line about 6 blocks to the east, and a station along the Red Line approximately 1 mile to the east and one approximately 1 mile to the north. This site is also situated within a 1 mile walk from the Ogilvy Transportation Center, where riders can catch metro service to various surrounding communities. The subject site is situated adjacent to a large variety of land uses. Industrial manufacturing to the north, primarily residential to the east across the river, with commercial activity lining the ground floors of Erie, Chicago, and portions of Kingsbury. Commercial and limited manufacturing exists to the south, and a mix of commercial, light manufacturing, and residential uses are to the west. At this point, I'd like to turn the project over to Meg George, attorney for the applicant, to continue their presentation.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Plan Commission. My name is Meg George, an attorney with the law firm of Ackerman LLP. I am here today on behalf of the applicant, Bally's Chicago Operating Company, LLC, in connection with the proposed amendment to Plan Development number 1426. Present with me this morning are my partner, Chris Leach from Ackerman, Chris Jewett, Amit Patel, and Joyanne Vakil from Bally's, Christine Carlisle and Chris Pemberton representing the architect, SCB, Patrick Kennedy, the civil engineer of V3 Companies, and Bradley McCauley, the landscape architect of Site Design Group. SCB will begin our presentation by describing the site and architecture of the proposed buildings. Brad McCauley will walk us through the landscape and open space. Pat Kennedy will describe the infrastructure and transportation components, and then I will describe the community outreach and hiring statistics. I'll now turn it over to Christine Carlisle.
Apologies, I had to turn myself off mute. Good morning, I'm Christine Carlisle, principal of SCB. We're delighted to provide an overview of the proposed PD 1426 amendment. This amendment is based on creating a vibrant entertainment district that's anchored by the Bally's Casino development that'll enliven this post-industrial site in River West and create a spectacular regional destination. There are many wonderful amenities that are part of the district, including inviting parks, river walks, streetscapes, multimodal network for walking, transit, water taxi, biking, and vehicles. And throughout the planning process, we've maximized the below-grade parking opportunities. We've utilized the Union Pacific Rail Line, which runs diagonally through the site. We've created a green district, which is based on a paradigm for sustainable best practices. Next, please, Noah. You can see here, this is looking from River West towards the north and west. It's on the east side of the Chicago River. I'm not seeing anything on my screen.
One moment, it went white on me, sorry.
Okay. We'll try it again. What was existing conditions in looking at the Tribune site that's there, the existing Tribune printing plant, in the surrounding context in River West. Okay, here we go.
We can see it again.
Okay. Okay, there we go. Oh, yeah. So I kind of gave a visual for it. Take a look at that. We have the next is a rendering that superimposes development on that. The same view. It shows the mixed-use district, and it incorporates, the concepts from the earlier PD 1426 or the current PD 1426, and then proposed amendment, which has the casino and in the center. At the south end is an event center, and at the north end we've got a hotel tower as part of it. Okay. This is a comparison between the PD from 2018. This is showing you the plan that was there. You have to bear in mind that at the time the market was for half office and half residential, and a series of park spaces that sort of connected through them. We also had air rights above the Union Pacific rail line, which runs diagonally. You can see the platform that was created. Thank you, Noah. And then in 2022, we're proposing making that into a linear park, but that will be part of connecting the fabric with the mixed-use district on the west and the casino complex, entertainment complex on the east side. So you've got the hotel, the casino, and the event center, and then a riverfront park. And you're going to hear a lot about the landscape from Brad McCauley with Site Design Group as well, so we can talk in depth on that. So the difference between those is that there's a reduction of 1.8 million square feet from the earlier PD to what's current. And that originally it allowed up to 8.4 million square feet of new mixed use development. And currently we're requesting 6.6 million square feet of mixed use development. In terms of land use, it adds a casino land use. It has many similarities in terms of the open space, the roadway network, and the infrastructure improvements. Next slide, please. There's through the planning of the site, we've sought to increase the east-west connectivity as part of it. The main roadway goes north-south, so that's the Jefferson that starts at Chicago Avenue and runs to Grants. Similar in both cases. Earlier plan had Superior running east-west, and then a street called Ancona, which is a small street on the west side that continues across as part of it, and then a connection at Ohio Street, which is just south of the Ohio feeder ramp. In the new plan, we're proposing 4 roadway connections. Huron, which aligns with the Huron connection to the east. It's got an offset from the west side. Ancona, again, Ancona is actually a double street. Is that we've got one that at the lower level, which is service, and then a platform level, which is connecting to Jefferson. And then Erie Street, we're proposing to have that extend across and connect into Jefferson, and then Des Plaines to connect through just south of the Ohio feeder ramp. And that will also connect across the way at an intersection that takes you to a service drive for trucks to come into the district. Next, please. Okay, as far as open space, we've increased the open space. We had 12.7 acres in the 2018 plan, and currently we're proposing 13.4 acres of total open space. Throughout the process, we modified the design character from centralized park to more of a linear park, and really creating as much connectivity as possible throughout the district. And you'll see that in some of the pedestrian diagrams. Go ahead. Next, please. Okay, this shows you the 4 plans that are current plans that we've been working towards in compliance with the North Branch Framework Plan, the Chicago River Design Guidelines, as well as the River Edge Development Plan that was created by the Friends of the Chicago River. Next, please. With the compliance for the North Branch Plan, this is a very important plan. It was actually the one that helped to develop the transformation of the planned manufacturing district, which this property was part of, and prepare it for additional opportunities for growth and development. As part of that, we've been in compliance with that. It's key to having an economic engine and creating a job center, allowing for a mix of mixed use, including affordable housing, providing better transportation access for all modes of transportation, and really building on the natural and built environment that's along the river edge. Next, please. Okay, part of the plan is showing the heights. We've got the casino is actually fairly low. It creates better views for some of the properties to the west as well, but it's at 75 feet. That's in the center. We've got 500 feet for the hotel tower and 130 feet for the event center. Next, please. This shows you some of the street sections. What's key to this is that this is a very complex site. Both Chicago and Halsted are elevated, and they come to what I call a hill at that intersection. It did provide some great advantages for creating underground parking or below grade parking. And you can see that in the lower section, which runs through Jefferson, where we've got 3 levels of parking below grade, and the roadway comes up and above that on the western edge of the parking deck. And there is ramps that will be accessible off of Jefferson, very similar to the Michigan Avenue ramps near Grant Park, where you can come in the center and go directly into the P2 level, the second level of parking, and have access there. And then we've also shown how we get up onto the platform because we're creating a sort of elevated ground plane that's above the Union Pacific air rights. We have some grade changes from Halsted on the western side going to the east on Jefferson. And you can see that in Erie and the Huron sections. Next, please. Okay, this shows you the public, some of the connectivity for the district in terms of transit. We've got the Grand Stop, which is within a quarter-mile walk of the district. We got numerous buses all the way around in Chicago, Halsted, and Grand. We have a new proposed bike trail in the lighter green that will be along the linear park. We have a series of pedestrian access points throughout, as well as a water taxi stop that will be near the hotel and the casino entrance. Next, please. And this shows you sort of in pink are all of the options for pedestrian access and connectivity. Many ways to get to the river through a wide variety of options. Each one of the streets has a way of connecting through. We've got numerous entrances into a winter garden that'll take you stairs through. We've got an atrium further south in between the casino and the event center, which will take you to the Riverwalk. We've got the Riverfront Park. We also have access off of Des Plaines and going through that area there. So there's many ways of getting to the water and connecting through. Okay. And this shows you a view from the intersection of Jefferson And Chicago Avenue is off to the left a little bit. And you can see the landscaped edge and the drop off and entry area. We've got 7 feet of grade that goes up, and Brad will talk a lot about the landscape plan for it. But it's a very inviting entry to both the hotel and the casino. There's also valet drop off there. There's some ramps down into the valet and out of that area as well. Next, please. These are the public amenities for the district and really the landscape component. We've got the Riverwalk, the Riverfront Park, and the Linear Park, which is a total of 10.6 acres of publicly accessible private land. Next, please. Here is a view of the Riverwalk from the north, and you see access along the side of the hotel. There's a dock for the water taxi. There's some steps and access to a floating platform along that edge, and a whole variety of different character places. Next, please. And here we have the Riverfront Park. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this. Brad's got a lot of detail to this. You get sort of the view of that and how it connects through to the district, cascading stairs through. There's a lot of floating wetlands along the edges. Next, please. And then this is a linear park. We're just a little bit east of Halsted, looking down the park. You can see the casino on the left-hand side, and then this would and it'll take you all the way to the edge of the casino, and then it descends through the Riverfront Park. It's a ribbon of green throughout the district. Okay, so here we are. So in phase 1, we have 1 million square feet of development, and that's the hotel, the casino, the event center. That does not include the parking. We've got 4,000 gaming positions as part of that, 10 plus food and beverage restaurants and bars. There's an event center with 3,000 seats. There's 3,200 square feet of museum. There's a hotel, has approximately 500 rooms. There's 2,500 parking spaces as part of the casino and first phase development underneath the casino. There's 700 parking spaces, which are surface parking, and that's temporary. And part of that was that we had many discussions with the DPD, the Committee on Design. There was a lot of concern about potentially the site could be overparked, that not all employees would be coming by car, that there could be a lot more transit serving it. And so we also were looking at an above grade garage that was where it says future development at Chicago and Halsted in that area. And so part of that was to take that out of the plan, move the parking as much underneath the casino, and then have an option for surface parking. It would allow the Bally's and the city to monitor behavior and the need for surface parking. If there is more need for parking, they could put that in the new development or create a standalone garage as part of it. And so the Riverwalk is also included in phase 1. That continues from the event center continues from Chicago all the way through to the Riverfront Park, but also from the south end of the Riverfront Park all the way to Grand, and then the Riverfront Park. So, and then in the future, we have a maximum of it's a maximum of 6.6 million square feet, 1 million of which would be in phase 1, leaving 5.6 for mixed use development. We've got 4,799 units as part of multifamily in total for the site, a total of 800 hotel rooms that would, which would mean that in the next subsequent phases could have up to 300 more rooms. And then retail of 125,000. Linear Park would have would run along the whole UP rail line, which you can see there. And that would have a dedicated bike lane within that, And then there's a potential for a transit way to be built on the UP alignment. Should that not be needed, there's only right now, it's a spur off the main line. It only serves one user right now, which is Blumber's Chocolate. And there's been plans with the city for the future, potentially having a transit way that connect the Clybourne corridor, or actually Clybourne Station, all the way down to Oakview Station. And so, next, please. Okay, now I'm going to turn over to Chris to talk a bit about the casino complex.
Thanks, Christine, and good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Plan Committee. My name is Chris Pemberton. I'm the president and principal at charge for the project from SCB. And I'm just going to go through a series of slides now that focus on the architectural design for the project. I will say that the image in front of you here is similar to what was presented some 8 months ago, but it's really evolved, and it's evolved really through input from the Committee on Design, from DPD, and from the community. And some of those things Christine has elaborated on, but I'll touch on a few of them as we go. But the concept itself is really very similar. I think if we look at the overall image in front of here, this is taken sort of from the Ward Park. We're kind of at the south end of the casino looking up north. In the foreground, we see the entertainment complex to the south, and just on the very left-hand edge, you can see the park coming down. Moving our way sort of up the page, there's a glazed link that separates the entertainment complex from the casino itself. So the casino is really located between the entertainment complex or theater and the hotel tower, which anchors the development at the north end of the site. Importantly, in this image, we can see the architectural vocabulary that's being used. Again, this is very similar to some of the ideas that were presented, where the horizontal form of the entertainment complex and of the casino itself is reminiscent of the rippling light on the river. And that's helped to inspire the design of the enclosure for the casino and for the theater. And then the tower form is iconic. It is very singular in form and very elegant, and anchors the whole development at the north end of the site. I think the other thing this image really helps to show is that along the Riverwalk itself, which is about 8 feet above the water level here, you can see a whole host of program elements. So if you sort of work your way from the south, there's the glazed link that I had mentioned that really continues this notion of porosity and connection back to the city grid, which Christine spoke about, and looking at some of the master plan. And that's even further reflected in the architecture of the building. So that glazed link kind of at the tip of the water taxi that you see here is a public connection that is separating the theater from the casino and makes a connection from Jefferson down to the Riverwalk level. It's about a 30-foot level difference. The upper band of illumination in the casino body itself, we'll see on the plans in a second, but that's a mixture of food and beverage venues and a public pathway. About 30 feet above the Riverwalk. And then at the Riverwalk, as we work our way up, there is a museum, there are other restaurants, and the glazed link between the hotel and casino that Christine mentioned. Next, please. So looking at the primary plan here, this is the casino floor level. We're about 35 feet above the Riverwalk at this point. And if I start over at Chicago Avenue, there is a red arrow that is pointing to really the main entry point. That's our drop-off circle that you can see, and Brad will speak about that a little bit. But really this point where that red arrow is on the right-hand side of the image is the main entry to the casino itself. Thanks, Noah. And to the hotel. And the yellow is public circulation. You can see how that yellow sort of meanders along the face of the Riverwalk, but we're elevated, remember, and it goes down to a secondary entrance. So there's another red arrow at the south end, and that's the glazed atrium, which I spoke about earlier. And that's really separating the event center in purple from the casino itself. Also arrayed along here, we can see the blue food and beverage venues, which look out over the river or along the public way. There's also a food and beverage venue located in the nose of the tower as well. If we go to the next one, please. As Christine had mentioned, one of the major refinements to the plan that's taken place over the past 8 months is really to try and get all of the parking beneath the casino. So as was summarized earlier, this is there are 3 levels of parking now, below the casino floor and the theater itself. And that's very important because it's really containing all of the parking that's going to be used by patrons beneath the casino, as opposed to being located in separate buildings that previously were located towards Chicago and Halstead. So again, this is the P1 level, and it's directly below the casino floor. Importantly, there's several public elevators that connect those main walks from the casino floor down to the Riverwalk. This is level P2, so now 2 levels below the casino floor itself. Very importantly here, and if Noah, you could indicate where the ramp is coming in from Jefferson, sort of over on the south side, a little bit further down here. Most of the parking comes in at this point. Yes, exactly right there. Most of the parking for the patrons will enter here. So at this P2 level, sort of the intermediate. It is distinct from traffic on Jefferson. It's distinct from the loading functions as well. And it represents about 2/3 of the traffic that we would expect to come into the site. The other thing just to highlight here is that we have a series of the blue color at the base of the hotel is nestling on either side of the yellow winter garden space. So there's some activity that we see here as well. But all the parking is shielded away from anybody's view. You go to the next slide, please. We're now down at the Riverwalk level, so you can see that the parking area is completely enclosed and away from anybody's view. And significantly here, again, you can see where the loading is located exactly. This is something that Bally's really control. They control all of their suppliers. So it's important to understand that deliveries really just occur in the early morning and are required to stop by noontime. So all of the trucks will be coming in from the south. We'll see that in some of the infrastructure diagrams to come. But they're coming in before noon, and then there's a very large holding space that's in here that then would distribute goods and supplies throughout to both the hotel, but significantly to the casino operation itself. Also at this level, as we look at the Riverwalk, you can see the red color. This is the museum, which is connected up to that atrium space by the yellow, correct? Yes, thanks, Noah. But also directly to the Riverwalk as well. And as we work our way along the Riverwalk, there's different activation that we'll see in some of the landscape, and then you can again see the blue color is the base of the restaurant that connects down to the Riverwalk. We could go to the next slide, please. The sections, as we said, we've added a 3rd level of parking beneath the casino, which has been terrifically beneficial to the overall design. And I think here you could see really looking, there's the purple on the left of the long section at the bottom. That is the theater, the casino in green, and then the hotel has 2 colors, which are the hotel keys in green and in blue. At the very tip of the hotel, at the top, there's a restaurant space as well, which will just on the top of the tower, Noah, just right up there. Yeah, that's a public restaurant that we'll have as part of the program. So if you go to the next slide, these are the elevations. These show the different materials that are proposed for the design. These were best seen in the renderings that are included, but they're enumerated here and described. So this is the elevation from the east. If you go to the next one, the elevation to the west, very similar sort of vocabulary, the elevation from the north, and then the elevation from the south. So if we continue on, plans are included in the packet. This is for the hotel tower itself. You can see the lower floors have in the green color top left, some of the hotel keys. And then as you work your way up, sort of midpoint, that image there. Yes, thanks, Noah, where you had your hand. Yeah, this will be sort of mid-span of the tower. There's a swimming pool envisioned there, which will have views out over the river. Above that, the blue color are the hotel, the suites. And then finally at the top on the right-hand side is the restaurant that we'd indicated in the building section. Go to the next one, please. There's a couple of views that are sort of architectural cutaway sections that help to explain some of the vocabulary a little bit further. You can see on this image here where the water taxi connection may be, or where the landscape sort of dips down to make a connection to the water itself. Brad's going to talk about that in a minute. But as you sort of work your way from the Riverwalk up, you can see some of the glass and metal wall system that will be used for the hotel. There's a sort of belt line that wraps around to make sure that we don't see any of the parking. And then above that, the big bay window that you see is part of that public walk and restaurants, which will be like bay windows that look up and down the river. And you can see them on the right-hand side shown, those big bays that are the casino food and beverage venues. Next, please. This is showing a cutaway section of the entertainment complex, the theater. The sort of golden color in the rendering here, the coppery color is a perforated mesh screen reminiscent of a theater curtain. There is some transparency that you can see at the bottom of the rendering, where interestingly, this venue will accommodate both a stage performance. You can see sort of dashed in the section where the stage is, but also the stage can be demounted, and we can have tables in here for tabletop venues. And in that instance, people would have the ability to have a view down the river. So there'd be some level of activation that one would see looking at the end of the theater here. Next, please. This is another axonometric perspective, which is really showing this the winter garden space that connects the hotel tower to the casino itself. And I think it's a helpful drawing because it shows us the level difference where you come into the main drop-off, and in this winter garden space, we're envisioning a series of steps. There are escalators and elevator connections as well, which would take us down to the P2 level, so slightly elevated above the Riverwalk. That's where our in the base of the hotel there will be a restaurant, and then further steps that cascade down to the Riverwalk itself. And then in the very foreground there is the water taxi stop that is envisioned. Next, please. The vocabulary of the tower it has developed a little bit further from what's been seen, but we've been studying sort of extent of glazing and the materials here. So these are enumerated, a sort of combination of glass and metal panel. Really, though, I think important to us is really expressing this very simple and elegant form of the tower itself. So that will continue. Has continued to evolve over the past 8 months. So we go to the next one, please. At this point, I'm going to hand off to Brad, who's going to take us through some of the landscape features that are envisioned.
Thank you so much, Chris. As mentioned, my name is Brad McCauley, landscape architect from Site Design Group. Happy to be here today. I want to start by thanking the chair and the entire panel. It is always an honor to present to the commission, so I really appreciate you taking the time to hear us today. Jumping into the landscape for the development, it was hard for me to just jump right into it without telling a little bit more of the story, because there are so many stories to be told for the site development, for the entire project. You know, there's the entertainment district as a story, there's the city of Chicago plays a part. You know, the list goes on, but really what it boils down to is people. How do we get people to the space? How do they use the space? And that kind of ties into balance. That's really what we're trying to show here is how do you balance, rhythm, open plazas and nooks, private, formal and informal spaces, clean lines versus lush landscapes. Sometimes they don't always mesh well together. We want to make sure that this is a space that people want to come to and that they want to stay at. If you go to the next slide. Tying that into kind of an overall landscape theme, we want to talk briefly about it, but I want to be very directly about this. When we worked on the North Branch Framework Plan, when we did the river guidelines for the city of Chicago, we talked very holistically about the landscape and the plants that actually can tie into this. This is a very unique site in the sense that we're kind of stilting it up to get to the Chicago Avenue level, which creates a bit of a hill there. We're 30 to 40 feet higher than the river in certain spots, which gives us a lot of natural transition that we can play with. As you can imagine, a traditional landscape from a river would be submergent, up through riparian, up through upland, and gets you into quite a variety of species as we go through the landscape story itself. If you look to the right, You can see how the building lays on top of what that landscape could be, and how you can start to pull that linear park. That's an upland ribbon that folds into it that Christine was talking about. The riparian riverbank down the streetscape of Jefferson, the Riverwalk is the emergent, the submergent down by the park. All of that comes together in the Riverfront Park to really create what we think is going to be a pretty spectacular space. If you want to go to the next slide. I want to go through the entire, circle around the development and kind of go through all these different areas. I'm going to start up at the drop off at the north and work counterclockwise down around, and then we'll kind of circle back along the Riverwalk. So looking at the drop off, as you can imagine, this is the main entry to the building. You can imagine this wanting to be several lanes. What we've been doing is really balancing the hardscape and the landscape here. We've been trying to return as much space as we can to people, making it easy to kind of egress into the building as well as down to the Riverwalk. We want people to have the options. You can see that middle bottom picture, a sloped walkway that actually gets you right down to the river, so you don't necessarily have to go through the building. The other thing is just creating program, taking advantage of the space, getting cars out of there as quickly as possible. You can see the slip ramps going down to the parking garage. We want to cover that. We want to make this more green and more for people, pedestrian friendly. Go to the next slide. Working our way down Jefferson Street. The bottom left picture is pretty telling. The city of Chicago standard is really just a tree 25 foot on center. Given the 20-foot plus sidewalk width that we have here, it would be an open pit, and that would meet the requirements. What we want to do with that extra space, and what we're doing, is really taking advantage of it to create a much more pedestrian friendly corridor. You can imagine using bump outs, doing raised planters, getting double rows of trees wherever possible, artwork, creating people spaces within this corridor throughout Jefferson Street, and really with a focus down towards the south side of the building, to where we can take the energy from the park, the energy from the street, and pull it all through the Riverfront Park to the south and get people where they want to go. You can go to the building, of course, but we want people to be able to get to the river, get to the open space, get to the public amenities that that we all enjoy, and what's been promised. That's really what we're going for. Can go to the next slide. Diving into the park a bit more. So the top area there, top right, or I guess kind of center of the image on the right, that's where all that energy kind of comes together. From Erie Street, you've got the Jefferson Street, and you got that linear park, all funneling people into what we think is going to be a great experience. Rather than create a big switchback or here's where you go if you're in a stroller, we wanted to make the transverse down to the river to be an experience. So you can see the sloped walkway kind of meanders through the entire park. All throughout that, the design is meant to focus on two things: getting people connected to nature. So we're going for a 50-50 split of that landscape that I was talking about, heavily planted, working your way up from the river edge all the way up to Jefferson Street with quite a variety, as well as getting some active space where you can actually go on an open lawn and do things. Along that path, you'll see different moments of program. We're showing a dog park that's still being sized appropriately for the neighborhood. As you go further, where I think Noah's circling down there at the bottom, there's talks of lots of different program here. Our thought is that this is an open plaza. You can do farmers markets, rentable space, different types of seating, overlook where you can look down the river and you get quite a view. And then down as you get closer to the Riverwalk, we want to provide a kiosk, things like that for, to amenitize the space for us, the general public. We want to make sure that there are things here, different types of seating, different elements throughout. The last two things I'll mention in this slide are the Erie Street abutment, the existing bridge abutment there. You can see to the right. We want to take advantage of this existing feature and really get people closer to the water. It also serves as a natural buffer and makes for a good area to put some floating wetlands. It's protected out of the Army Corps Navigable Waterway, and that's where you see the green that we're getting into the water. The next slide, please. A couple more shots. Nighttime, daytime shots. We wanted to give a little bit more. If you're standing on the Riverwalk, what this is going to feel like. The goal is not to just make one big wall. You can imagine the most economical way to do this park is to do a sheer wall, have a ramp, you get down, and you have a flat space. We've kind of integrated the topography into the entire park design without having a bunch of major walls throughout. If you can go to the next slide. Getting into the Riverwalk. So this is a shot just trying to show the balance, between everything throughout the corridor. As you can imagine, there's going to be quite a bit of program interspersed throughout the Riverwalk. The things that don't necessarily show up here is we need to get a 16-foot combined pathway throughout the Riverwalk. We don't want it just to be right at the edge. We want it to kind of blend and wind through so people get different experiences throughout the entire corridor. I would, if I needed to liken it to anything, I would say the original Riverwalk, on the main branch that was done by Sasaki. And then the work that we did a few years ago for the Riverwalk East, which is much more natural and winding. It should be a hybrid between the two. We want to make sure we have a healthy balance of hardscape, landscape. People can get to the edge. They can also get, some respite with landscape. There's opportunity for cafe spaces along the building facade, and also getting down to the water edge. We saw the floating stair in the middle. There's the water taxi location. There's the Erie Street abutment to the south. We're thinking it would be quite a great amenity once this all opens up. And then if you can go to the next slide. Circling back, I know I kind of did a whole loop-de-loop around the building. Just want to talk a little bit more about the drop-off here. Pat is going to take over here in a second from V3. But you can see, what we're trying to do here is really make it as lush of an entry, but as well as an urban context. We are in the city of Chicago. We don't want this to seem suburban, so we're pushing to get the landscape to look the right way, as well as creating people space within it. So with that, I will turn this over to Pat with V3 to take you through transportation and stormwater. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. And this is Pat Kennedy with V3. I'm Executive Vice President, and we're responsible for the civil infrastructure and traffic for the development. Good morning, and thanks for the privilege to talk to you today. Next slide, please. So starting at kind of a broad regional perspective relative to traffic and access to the site, what this shows, and Noah, if you can trace, a majority of the site will come from 94 down the Ohio feeder from both north and south. Then it'll feed over to a right-hand turn at Orleans Street, right-hand turn back onto Grand, and then a right-hand turn at Jefferson and into the site, as we've talked about. And so that's where a majority. The other traffic from the south will come up Halsted and enter off of Grand as well. The remainder of the traffic will come from the north. East-west on Chicago is more generally local traffic will enter the site at Jefferson at the north end. So the key north-south spine has been indicated by others is Jefferson Street all the way from Chicago Avenue to Grand. Next slide, please. So in a more local level, once we get to the site, starting at the left-hand side of the screen, we've tilted ourselves on the side here. Grand Avenue is on the left side of the screen there. As you enter the site, the first kind of going from the lowest level of the 3-level parking garage to the top is how I'm going to work. The service level and deliveries will come along Grand. We'll enter the site. We'll turn right where that purple arrow is, and that essentially stays at grade and enters the lowest level of the building into the service area. So that is its own dedicated service driveway. The next movement is the red arrow, similar to the Monroe parking garage. Those center lanes will enter directly into the P2 level. As Chris mentioned earlier in his diagrams, that's the main guest parking level under the casino. And so that's where a bulk of our traffic will come in off of Jefferson there. The third movement is the outside lanes along Jefferson from the south to the north are the through movement on Jefferson that initially will take you adjacent to the park and engage at that level, up further and ultimately taking you to the valet and drop off area in front of the hotel and connecting up at Chicago Avenue. The purple areas indicate dedicated ride share, drop off and pickup areas. If you're entering the site from Chicago, the key red arrows there, you'll enter there and enter the parking garage at P1 below the casino, where Noah is indicating there. And then the other red arrow indicates in the drop-off area, that's the valet. That's an access ramp that goes down into the garage to coordinate the valet movements. So for the project, we did a full traffic impact study and coordinated with the city and staff. And what this slide indicates is the difference from the previously approved PD 1426 traffic study, and reflecting the change in both the decrease in the overall density and the inclusion of the entertainment district. And because of the different use, it's really a more distributed traffic generation pattern. And so at the weekday commuter AM peak, this is showing about a 40% decrease from the previous approved traffic study. And in the weekday commuter PM peak, decrease as well, that you can see there on a relative basis. So the total traffic impact improvements. So these are the mitigation measures resulting from the traffic study. And overall, the mitigation measures that are proposed to improve the flow, not only immediately at the site, but in the area, reflecting a number of the movements that we just talked through on the previous slides. So starting with the blue dots on the screen, I'm sorry, I'll start with the green, the highlighted green roadway. Those are projects that are currently in progress by CDOT in preliminary design. First up along Division Street, but very importantly, a new Chicago Avenue Bridge and viaduct at Chicago and Halsted immediately adjacent to the site. That's in preliminary design and will run pretty much concurrent with this overall project. The overall infrastructure on the site then is, we've mentioned Jefferson Street is part of the entertainment district, and then the future grid connections at Huron, Erie, and Des Plaines. The intersection improvements then, I jumped ahead. So the blue dots are immediately adjacent to the site, new signalized intersection improvements at Chicago and Jefferson, Grand and Jefferson, and Grand and Des Plaines as part of phase one. And then full modernization of traffic signal and improvements. You can see at that pattern at Ohio, Erie to Grand to the southeast, the light green, and then further retiming traffic signals at the yellow to the north and the west. And so in total, a number of offsite improvements at the traffic signals and intersections to really facilitate the flow of traffic in the area. Stormwater management strategy for the overall project. The primary point to make here is that any rainfall that falls on structure along the river is being directed to the river as quickly as possible, does not go into the combined sewer system. So this does two things. One, it decreases local flooding, so you're not surcharging the combined sewer system. And two, it's improving and by result of that, improving the water quality of the Chicago River and getting that rainwater directly to it. For anything that falls not on structure, think about the river walk itself, the park areas, some of the street area that's not on structure. This will be detained and go through water quality per city code before being released into the river. We'll also work with Brad and his team on different levels of green infrastructure along that river walk and park, as you'd imagine. Thank you. And now back to Christine.
Hi, Christine Carlisle, SCB again. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the project compliance. Where it's a very sustainable project. In addition to achieving LEED Gold, This development is planning on achieving additional points that are associated with the City of Chicago Sustainable Development Policy checklist. So that includes 90 points for LEED Gold, 10 points for electrical vehicle charging, and another 5 points for electrical vehicle readiness, as well as 10 points for workforce development and 10 points for bird protection enhanced version. So that's a total of 125 points. So as far as the bird, protection, this is looking at, the glazing of the buildings, glazing of other items like railings, understanding, the lighting on site, making sure everything is up to bird friendly standards. And go on to the next one. So, as part of we're also in compliance with all the transportation and circulation and parking requirements in the Chicago zoning code. It's prioritizing the pedestrian and transit use and safety throughout, looking at the street grid and making sure that we are extending and connecting to the urban fabric. Parking, we do have a surface parking lot, but that's going to be temporary. There is no permanent surface parking lot as part of the plan development. And then we also look to screen all parking with active uses or other architectural features as part of it. Next, please. We're in compliance with the pedestrian-oriented and urban design guidelines. And really, the urban design of the district is designed to be of appropriate scale and to provide for transitions in scale and between high density and lower density, creating street walls as well as prominence of the corners. Next, please. And then in compliance with open space guidelines, this has got tremendous amount of open space as part of it. It's to be inviting, usable, accessible parks for visitors and residents throughout the city, as well as maximum exposure to light, and to include amenities such as common open space and recreational facilities, dog parks, and other things you've heard about today. As part of this plan will support the affordable housing ordinance, and we are proposing to build a maximum of 4,799 residential units. The plan is committed to meeting the requirements of the ARO, and is currently designed. The full build out is obligated to provide 960 affordable units with a maximum of 480 units being constructed on site or off site, I'm sorry. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Meg to talk about the Bally's commitments.
Thank you. And Noah, we can pick up on the next slide. In May of 2022, Bally's was awarded the casino RFP. Since that time, Bally's has worked diligently with the mayor and her staff, the Department of Planning and Development, the Department of Transportation, the Mayor's Office of People with Disabilities, Stormwater, the Committee on Design, the River Ecology and Governance Task Force, and our alderman to develop the plans you have seen before you today. Next slide. Bally's has also held over 50 meetings with community groups, neighborhood organizations, individuals, the Community Advisory Council, and other interested parties to solicit feedback. They have adjusted and improved their plans based on the comments received in these meetings. Next slide. This casino project will be the first major casino in the country to be built by a minority-led firm. Bally's has partnered with the Chicago Community Builders Collective to further its aggressive goals for construction and permanent employment. The project will bring approximately 3,000 construction jobs and 3,000 permanent jobs. Bally's plans to use 36% MBE and 10% WBE certified firms. 50% of the work hours will be performed by the City of Chicago residents, 15.5% of which will be completed by residents who come from socially and economically disadvantaged areas. With respect to employee hiring, Bally's seeks to employ 60% minorities and 45% women. That completes the Bally's portion of our presentation. Before I send it back over to Noah, I want to be sure to say a big thank you to DPD staff, Commissioner Cox, CDOT staff, and Commissioner Biaggi. And lastly, thank you to our Alderman, Alderman Burnett, for his work with us on this monumental project. On behalf of Bally's, we respectfully request your favorable recommendation of this amendment to Plan Development number 1426. The team and I are here ready to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. George, and thank you to the Bally's team. So the Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the materials submitted by the applicant, and we have concluded that the proposed development is appropriate for the subject site for the following reasons. First, the proposed development is compatible with the character of the surrounding areas in terms of use, density, and building scale. Further, the proposed development is compatible with the anticipated character of the surrounding area as defined in the adopted North Branch Framework Plan. Second, the project design allows for flexibility in the application of selective uses, bulk, and development standards in order to promote a creative building design and a high-quality urban design. Third, the project promotes economically beneficial development patterns that are compatible with the character of the existing neighborhood and the adopted North Branch Framework Plan. Fourth, that the site promotes safe, efficient circulation of a variety of transit options, including pedestrian, cyclist, and motor vehicles. Lastly, the project infrastructure and facilities and city services will be adequate to provide service to the proposed development at the time of building occupancy. The proposed plan development has been reviewed by the Department of Planning and Development, by the Department of Transportation, and various other city agencies, and all requested changes have been made. Copies of the application have been circulated to other city departments and agencies and are available as part of my staff report and online. Please refer to my staff report for any further details regarding this project today. Based on the foregoing, it is a recommendation of the zoning administrator of the Department of Planning and Development that the application to amend Air Rights Waterway Business Residential Plan Development number 1426 be approved and then forwarded as such to the City Council Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Thank you.
Thank you, Noah and team, for that presentation. Do the commissioners have any questions of the staff or Noah? So I see that a couple aldermen want to make a comment. I'll start with the commissioners and then we'll move on with the aldermen. Commissioner Villegas, followed by Commissioner Reyes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, this is more of a statement. I'm going to continue to make this statement. Again, I support this project. I think it's good for the city. However, I want to make sure that minority and women and veterans are participating in the investment of this project. I know that there's a goal, and I know that Bally's is making an effort to utilize crowdfunding if approved by the Illinois Gaming Board. But I want to make sure that there's a backup plan if that mechanism doesn't materialize, that local Chicagoans, minority and women, will have the ability to invest in this once in a lifetime project that's going to generate funds. And we want to see those funds obviously have an opportunity to see dividends locally here in Chicago.
Commissioner Villegas, would you like anybody to speak about that, or?
Yeah, I made that statement, and then I guess I would want to see if Bally's can just talk about that. I know that they're going to the gaming board on their crowdfunding initiative, but I want to make sure that local Chicagoans, minority women, are participating, having the ability to invest in this project from an ownership standpoint.
Noah, can someone from the developer team can speak to that?
Madam Chair, Meg George from Ackerman. Yes, Alderman is correct. This is still under review by the Illinois Gaming Board. Chris Jewett is on the phone from Bally's, who can expand on that further.
Yeah, Alderman Viega. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Yeah, appreciate the question. And we are doing our best working with the Illinois Gaming Board, as this is a very large project, a very large commitment that we take very seriously. At this time, we're working with them on almost a daily basis to accomplish that goal, and there will be a solution in place. We've committed to this as part of our contract with the city, and there will be a solution one way or another.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Reyes, followed by Commissioner Escareño.
Yeah, I just have a question in terms of the future development of the residential component and the ARO requirements. I'm not clear of the 50% on site. Is it going to be provided so the 480 are going to be units on site or not?
Commissioner Reyes, it's Noah. So yes, they're the first 50% of the required units will absolutely be on site. And then the second 50% is still under discussion. I know we have, we've had discussions with the ARO team through Department of Housing. And since the Valley's team is likely not going to be the developer for those future phases, as each of those come online, each of those developers will enter into negotiations with Department of Housing to work through the compliance issues.
Thank you, Noah.
Commissioner Escareño.
Yeah, and just a comment on my end, I really appreciate the inclusion of the amount of park space and open areas. And my question in relation to that, well, but first of all, just really appreciate the fact that you went back and expanded all of that, really providing the community, specifically in areas where there is a lot of congestion, areas of respite and areas of community open space, which is so needed across the entire city. My question though is, are all of these areas where you have parkland, park space, including all along the riverfront, is all of this accessible to residents throughout the city to ensure that the walkability of this entire area is going to be open? That's one. And then the second part of my question is, I saw that there is a great plan for transportation and parking. Just a little bit of a comment, if you can expand on how the narrowness of both Chicago Avenue and Grand Avenue and the traffic is going to be managed to ensure the flow of traffic, because those are points of congestion. And again, just thinking about greenery and the environment as we try to, make Chicago even more environmentally friendly. How are those two components working to ensure we're all headed in the right direction for sustainability?
So Commissioner Escareno, I'll start with something related to the PD, and then I'll turn it over to the Valley's team for some details. So in terms of the open spaces, the PD will obligate those open spaces to be managed and maintained via a DEMA, Developers Easement and Maintenance Agreement. So the linear park upon completion, the riverfront park, Riverwalk, those will be recorded as part of a DEMA. So they will be free and open during typical park district hours, typically 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., and allow free and ungated access at all times. Obviously at 11 p.m., they can lock off the gate for safety purposes and do whatever measures they need to do to keep people safe, but it'll be free and open at all times for those purposes. And then I'll turn it over to the Valley's team for some.
And Noah, and I apologize,
Yes.
one other point in terms of the riverfront areas, specifically the docking areas. I know that it was mentioned that specifically for water taxis, but what about other vessels that may want to be stationed? Is the docking stations going to be able to accommodate multiple vessels? We know that along the river area, it's great access. I think it's wonderful to use the river as another way of and means of transportation, just wanting to make sure that there is ample access there. And just another kudos on the features that are going to be all the greenery along the water, which is a great natural habitat for other species. Really well done. Just wanting to make sure that the traffic on the river is going to be able to be accommodated by the construction.
So currently, some of that lies within our harbor master at the Department of Transportation as far as the river's edge goes, and that obviously in negotiation with the Army Corps of Engineers and how it would impact the navigable channel. But currently, we don't have plans for or shown for the improvement of a private vessel docking along this riverfront. And if they did want to go that route, they would have to enter into negotiations with the Army Corps of Engineer and the harbor master at CDOT and work on establishing something like that. It's a touchy issue with residential uses to the east of the river on how that would happen, but it's not currently planned in the proposal.
Got it. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
And Meg George from Ackerman, we worked extensively with the Department of Transportation, having weekly and several weeks more often than that meetings with the Department of Transportation. And I would ask Pat Kennedy and Tim Dorn from B3 to go through, Pat, if you want to start and talk about the width of Chicago Avenue and how that will be accessed.
Yeah, thanks, Meg. So, appreciate the question. So Chicago Avenue is currently a improvement project that's being designed by CDOT. We're coordinating there. We're allocating some of CDOT's allocating some of that roadway to a bus lane. So we're certainly encouraging public transit to the site, and then working within the constraints coming over the bridge and what's available with the viaduct. But as you saw, we're looking at providing a majority of the traffic to make right turns to come into the site and as efficiently access the parking garage for the facility and the overall PD. And then finally, I think it's really looking at all of those traffic signal improvements. The point with that is to line them up and to make that the movements as efficient as possible, which eliminates backups and allows people to move as free flowing as possible through the area.
Thank you.
Commissioner Navarra, followed by Commissioner Piñeiro.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to share one further bit of detail to Commissioner Reyes's question. And this really reflects the new ARO and the goals of the new ARO in an exciting way. So of those 480 units that are mandated to be provided on site, here's how that would break down. 80 would be at 80% AMI, 80 at 70% AMI, 160 units at 60% AMI, 80 units at 50% AMI, and 80 at 40% AMI. So again, this is part of our goal of the new ARO, is that we're reaching a range of incomes so that we're serving a range of households. And I'm really excited that we have 160 units below 60% AMI projected in this development. This is in the future, not for this phase, but it is something that this version of the ARO allows us to do.
Thank you. And I think we have a request from Alderman Riley to go next. And then we'll keep going with the commissioner's questions. Alderman Riley?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I'm sorry. All of us are stuck in the City Council's Finance Committee. So I wanted to make sure I made a brief statement about this project. And I recognize it is in Alderman Burnett's 27th ward, but clearly impacts many thousands of the constituents I represent east of the river in River North. But before I make that remark, it's my understanding that supplemental economic disclosure statements weren't publicly posted as of 10 a.m. on Thursday, December 8th. And I've checked and I'm not aware of any filed since then. Am I correct that no supplemental economic disclosures have been filed since last Thursday?
No, Alderman, it's Noah. We have the new EDSs from the leaseback company that Bally's has entered into the agreement with.
And when were those filed?
I received them, I believe it was Friday from the team.
Friday. And have those been publicly posted?
We are not obligated to do that for Plan Commission. I'll check in with our law team on where they would get posted.
Very good. Well, then I'm going to reserve my comments, but however, I do want to make sure that the EDS forms are properly vetted to make sure that they contain accurate and up-to-date information, because certainly we wouldn't want to have an application that's incomplete. My primary concerns have focused on the temporary casino located at Medina Temple, but that is not what is before us today. But I do want to echo the comments made by my constituents during public comment earlier today, that there are very legitimate concerns related to traffic flow, circulation, and public safety. I do want to credit the Bally's team for making a number of welcome revisions to their proposal. However, I represent the residents of the 42nd Ward, and both the temporary site and this casino location are opposed by the vast majority of the constituents I represent on the city council. And I think that they raise very valid concerns. I also want to just flag very quickly process. And I think members of the Plan Commission would easily recognize the process around this casino approval was very different than any other that you've considered in recent years. It seems as though this airplane is being built as it's flying. And typical process requirements like a completely vetted traffic study, public safety plan, and parking accommodations would have been prepared well in advance of the city council issuing any approvals for a project like this. And as you know, the special casino committee supported the casino application. And now we're doing the zoning and Plan Commission approvals after the fact. That's not our typical course of business. Likewise, following city council approval of the casino application, that's when really most of the public engagement occurred. Typically, again, that happens on the front end of this process, not the back end. So I understand the Plan Commission will likely approve this today, but I did want to put these comments on the record, and I want to make it very clear that I will be advocating strongly against the approval of this project in the zoning committee tomorrow, where we may have a better chance of slowing this down. But again, that said, I think that the site selection process could have been a lot better. I wish that they'd listened more carefully to impacted constituents and stakeholders downtown. And I do believe the city missed a real opportunity to extend some real economic development and job growth in those areas of the city that just need a little nudge to get around the corner. So for all those reasons, I would strongly encourage the Plan Commission to vote no. But again, thank you to Bally's for working the best they can to adjust their plans to reflect neighborhood concerns. But at the end of the day, the vast majority of neighbors that I represent remain strongly opposed to this project. Thank you for hearing my testimony, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Alderman Riley. Next, we have Commissioner Piñeiro, followed by Commissioner Biaggi.
Yes, thank you, Chairwoman. And thank you to the development team for the comprehensive presentation. Appreciate it. So I have a couple of questions that relate to, I understand that there have been multiple or a lot of community engagement meetings and addressing questions and concerns from the community. And I've heard multiple addressed in the presentation, but I had a couple of questions specific to a few items that I did not hear addressed. Apologies if I missed it, but I did not hear addressed during the presentation. And I know that there were concerns for the community. Number one relates to an outdoor venue for concerts and other types of events. And then secondly, another one that I did not see is a pedestrian bridge that would have connected to the east side of the bridge. Can you please address whether those have been modifications that have been addressed or what the status of those is?
Ms. George, do you want to handle that from the Valley side?
Yes, Meg George, again from Ackerman. Yes, we had a lot of community input on both of those items, both the pedestrian bridge and the outdoor venue. And so in response to that, both of those items have been removed from the plans. And so that's why you're not seeing either one of those in our plans. We've completely removed them.
Thank you.
Commissioner Biaggi, followed by Commissioner Tunney.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a minute to address, I think, to add some additional information about a couple of the traffic and circulation related questions. I should start by saying, I think the Valley's team has been very responsive to our concerns. We're here for the duration, for the whole city. and work to make sure that all of these areas work, not just in and around the casino, but the entire system in this region of the city. And so we've spent extensive time. We participated in whether it's community meetings, whether it's behind the scenes, many, many hours to try to get it right here. A couple of things I would add that are important here. You notice that we've added about a half-mile worth of new streets to this area. And that is the Jefferson, that's Huron, that's Erie, that's Des Plaines. That is street network that does not currently exist now in the way that you see represented here. And so how does that help us, right? It relieves a lot of pressure that's on streets like Chicago, like Halsted. So as the site becomes attractive and built out and has more activity happening, there's actual additional street grid. It's a rare opportunity that you get to add that to the city. And that is one really significant mitigation. I will add to that contextually the work that we've been doing that we are in both design and engineering and will be breaking ground on, extensive work on Chicago Avenue. So that means really addressing that intersection. A lot of things come together there, whether that's buses, bikes, pedestrians, vehicles. We are working on that entire intersection as well as the bridge at Chicago Avenue. These kinds of improvements that will be working in parallel with the casino development will make sure that when the casino comes online, that we have these infrastructure pieces. In the initial map, you also saw some of the, that sort of whole network set of improvements that's happening that again relieves pressure on the site. You saw Division Street, really from Halsted all the way to Elston. Those are significant improvements that are happening. We're creating not only more road network to relieve some of the congestion up there, new signals, new bridges. There's a significant amount of investment in addition to pedestrian safety and cycling improvements in that part of the network. I also want to point you toward the area at Ogden in Chicago, which we know has a lot of challenges in terms of traffic. You're right near the expressway. That's why you saw a number of traffic signal related improvements there. And in case you may not have noticed that we recently extended the Chicago Avenue dedicated bus lanes further west. And then this project will be picking that up, pulling it further east. And so that enables us to make sure that we have great CTA bus service. Halsted, I should add as well, and I promise to wrap it up here, but there's a lot going on here, and I just want to make sure that we have a chance to ground it. Halsted, that's also another street where we're concerned, making sure that people can get through those timed intersections. That's why you see the timing improvements that are going all over in the network. So from Orleans all the way west to Elston, you're looking at signal improvements. And what that means is it's enabling us to get cars and vehicles and bikes and pedestrians through at a rate that relieves those choke points. In addition, on Halsted, every intersection is the point of where you need most safety for your most vulnerable users. And so that's why coming online will be more protected bike lanes, safer pedestrian crossings on Halsted. So there's a whole panoply of improvements. I do want to offer my appreciation for the North Branch Works site and Water Saver, who will continue to work on to make sure we get it right on Erie Street. That's something that, obviously putting the street grid back, that is an important part of this, but we want to make sure that our industrial companies, whether it's Water Saver, Prairie Concrete, I don't think there's any entity that cares more about making sure we have access to concrete than CDOT. And so we'll be looking very closely at how we can make modifications to the plan that make it work for everyone. So I just wanted to call out a few of those things. I'm sure there are other questions. It was also mentioned that CDOT, we are indeed the harbor master. And so what's great about that is as we think about the points of ingress and egress, about the stacking that we can do in Jefferson that enables people to drive right into the parking garage or get the service work below grade, we also think about those river connections. So all of that combined, I think puts together a plan that we have given our conditional approval on, making sure that we can continue to work on drilling down on this whole panoply of improvements that will make this work for everyone. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you for the time here, and I'll stop my remarks there.
Thank you, Commissioner Biaggi, for that detailed explanation. Commissioner Tunney?
Good morning. Can you hear me all?
Yes, we can.
Because we're at finance, as Alderman Riley has said. So I had asked in our briefings specifically about the level that would take the loading docks, casino parking, and truck movements. I heard from Bally's about scheduled, truck deliveries, if that ever works. But did I miss that in the presentation about specifically the level, Jefferson, I believe, that would house the 2,500 parking spaces, the main entrance, basically? I know there's more than one, but how it co-aligns with the trucks and loading areas. I thought I'd ask, did that come up in the presentation today?
Alderman, it's Noah. Yes, it did. But I think, Ms. George, can we ask Mr. Kennedy to go back through that slide quickly for the Alderman?
Yes, we can. If you can pull that up.
I
Pat,
think
if you
it's
could go through
number
that.
50 or so. Yeah, back down to, I believe, or 3. No, other direction. I'm sorry. Past the landscape, right, one back. Right there. So these arrows help represent it. So if you start at Grand Avenue, and that's where we're directing, they'll come north on Jefferson Street, which is at grade at that point, and turn right, which is an easy movement for the service truck deliveries. And that purple arrow essentially stays at grade, goes under the park area directly into the lowest level service level of the casino. And so that's the movement for the trucks. Whereas if you stay straight on Jefferson, that begins to come up and elevate both into the P2 level of the garage at that red entrance, and then ultimately to the top level of Jefferson at grade along the casino and towards Chicago.
And Noah, if you want to pull up slide 30, that is the floor plan, and Amit Patel from Bally's can go through just operationally how this will work. Amit, you're muted if you're talking.
Hi, good morning. This is Amit Patel. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. I think, Noah, but if you want to just go to what I think one more. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Amit.
Perfect. So one of the additional points that I wanted to make, Chairman Tunney, is we look at the operational aspects of this casino floor. It's over 160,000 square feet of space that we are servicing on a daily basis. So when it comes to looking at majority of the areas that need the deliveries almost on a daily basis, and the supplies that need to be replenished on a daily basis occurs on the left side of this building. When you look at our sports bar, our center bar, if you look at our food hall, the river walk, the amenities with the theater and museum, these amenities will require almost daily replenishing. And we look at this as a much more conducive to getting our deliveries more efficient on the left side of the building, and much fewer deliveries from operationally that you would otherwise foresee in a 500-room hotel tower, because a lot of the amenities that support even the tower, the hotel tower, is located much more convenient to our delivery dock options as well. Just want to keep that in perspective. And I think we look at our automated movement of the pallets with the pushers that we'll be deploying in the area where we warehouse and take the deliveries, along with the point that we made earlier about having controlled deliveries with our suppliers from early in the morning to maximum going up to noon.
Alderman, did that cover your questions?
It did, but specifically, is there a dedicated level for the trucks in loading area? Did I hear that correct? Or are
Yeah,
you
Alderman,
sharing
let me
that?
show you on these 3 slides. I think I can do it quickly. So that purple arrow that Pat was referring to before goes down to this level you see here, which is the lowest. And so that's dedicated.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Okay.
So you, in the bottom left corner there, you see all the loading docks that are separated on this level here. And then when you move up a level, the ramps that are coming from Jefferson enter into the primary level for the casino patron parking. And then at the grade level is where, let me get back to the site plan. The grade level is then where the rest of Jefferson comes through at the tip of the street level. And you have the commercial access or pedestrian, that patron access here and turnaround for the valets up front.
So again, I'm on my phone, so it's difficult to walk and chew gum at the same time, but the area where the trucks are, is that shared with any other use for in that loading area? Is it
No,
just
sir.
loading specifically for that? Okay.
Just trucks loading and service to the facility.
Okay. That's, you know, basically more than 8 a.m. to noon, right, is what Patel had said. My only other concern as a neighbor on the north, regardless of east-west timing, Halsted Street is a disaster now coming southbound. And I just hope, you know, because it's not only the casino, it's this planned development that is going to bring a whole new level of density there. And it's, as you know, almost impossible to widen Halsted. And if anything, we've actually narrowed it by pedestrian and bike improvements, which, you know, is, you know, certainly caused a lot of congestion heading south on Halsted. So, but that being said, those are the extent of my questions for today. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Tunney. Alderman Burnett, sorry for the wait. If you're able to speak now.
Hey, you know, I'm on two contraptions trying to, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. First of all, I have a question for Bally's. I asked them at the last meeting, what was the agreement that they made with the unions? I want to know how does that incorporate my community? So can someone answer that question? And then I asked for a copy of that agreement. I'd like to see that agreement because from what I understand, the city's not privy to that agreement.
Alderman, I'll ask Chris Jewett to answer that question.
Yeah, Alderman Burnett, relative to your question on the unions, so we are working directly with both the building trades and the Chicago Federation of Labor. So on one side for construction, the other side for operations. Relative to those agreements, as they are a party to those agreements, we would need to get their consent to share them. But we are working with our construction partners and the CCBC, which is our general contracting firm, to put together a workforce development plan. We've actually submitted that in the last week to the city and are working directly with the city and our construction partners.
I need to see that workforce development plan also, because I need to make sure that people from my community can get a job, right? I mean,
Understood.
We wouldn't even have these kind of groups if we were able to get jobs all the time, especially in the Black community. So I need to see that, and we can't, you know, just rely on certain people who haven't been giving us jobs for a long time to give us the jobs, right? So I need to see what's going on. And I'd like to see it before tomorrow as zoning, you know? I need to see something before tomorrow as zoning, if you want my support on this thing. You know,
we can send, that over as soon as this wraps up.
So, you know, I really risked a lot running, I really risked a lot supporting this plan. As you know, the other neighboring aldermen don't support it, right? I stood up and supported this. And one of the assurances that I got out of this was that people from my community was going to be able to work. And I need to make sure that people from my community are going to be able to work. Now, you know, in supporting this, I potentially, you know, put my election in jeopardy because I could have got an opponent. I had somebody who was going to run against me, and I thought it was from the people who actually was against the casino. Coming to find out, it could have been the unions who was going to put something. They told me they were thinking about putting somebody up to run against me. You know, so it's like, you know, this stuff is crazy. You know, it's rewards for supporting these guys when they talk like that and bring you into a meeting when you don't even have an opponent. It's crazy. I need to see what they're doing. I need to make sure that people from Cabrini Green be able to get a job and they be able to get union jobs. And I need to make sure it's not just some kind of showboat thing and people still don't get jobs. I want to see that before tomorrow, or I'll just raise a lot of hell at the zoning meeting tomorrow and try. And if I have to, I have to ask my colleagues to go with me and stand with me on this. I need to see what's going on. Okay. So, you know, this thing, I stood for this thing, not for them. I stood for it for people in my community to be able to get employment. This is an important thing for the city of Chicago also. I know we got $40 million already that helped us balance this budget this year. I also know that we're going to get 200 million every year from here on out. I know that we're partners in this casino. I understand the bigger picture for the city of Chicago. And I've always stood for the bigger picture for the city, whether it's been a Bally's, whether it's been a high rise in my ward, whatever the case may be. I always stood for the bigger picture in the city of Chicago. But it seemed like when you stand up for these things, for all these people, there's no reward for being supportive of these things. You know, so the only thing I got to rely on is my community, right? So I need to make sure that my community are able to benefit from the development of this, and not just on this permanent site, but also on the temporary site. And you and I spoke about that, Chris, that I want to make sure that people from my ward are able to work on the temporary site, not just the inside. They need to work on the construction also. Okay, so I need to make sure, I need to see what's going on, and you guys need to talk to me, man, if you want my support. Because, you know, as far as I'm concerned, my support is being taken for granted by a lot of people, especially when folks tell me that they were thinking about running somebody against me. Thank you very much.
Well, Alderman Burnett, understood and truly appreciate your support throughout the process. We'll get you the workforce development plan as soon as we wrap up here. And happy to talk to you at any point in time. We have met every commitment that we've vocalized or verbalized throughout the process. We've promised you this, and we will come through.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Cox?
Good afternoon. I just wanted to make a couple of points relative to the overall project and process. Firstly, thanking Bally's for maintaining the integrity of the design vision. That was a big part of awarding them the commission. I know that there's been a lot of permutations, a lot of back and forth, but in the end, I think the image that we see from the riverfront speaks for itself, that all of the parties were successful in using the casino to set the stage for an urban place, particularly along the riverfront, which I think will be a destination. So I know, again, my appreciation for the design and development team for tracking very, very closely to what the public had come to expect from this casino. Also feel that the street grid that is been spoken about is so important to making this connected to the larger community. And I think in many ways it anticipates the kind of urban placemaking by relying on streets, not simply to move traffic, but to create place. And I think one of the biggest wins of going through a public process was the way in which the project dealt with parking. I think it should be noted that all of the permanent parking is below grade, which is an enormous feat for a casino, not very often seen. And not only placing the permanent parking below grade, I would say that restricting a lot of traffic that would have otherwise come into the center of the site to the edges of the site will assure that pedestrians will outnumber vehicles on those streets. And I think that's important, the precondition. And then lastly, the attention that is being paid. I know my colleague at CDOT is also very, very mindful of the manufacturing history of the site, both the Water Saver building and the Prairie Concrete. We are going to be watching very, very closely that their points of access, their operations are maintained. And I think that the way that the second phase of development plays out assures that certainly Water Savers will continue to have the logistical access that they need. So just, we've heard those concerns. We acknowledge and respect the fact that this site has a strong history of manufacturing, and we want it to continue to thrive. So those are really the points that I wanted to make. Again, I appreciate everyone's effort to get us to this point. And I look forward to the further discussion and ultimately the vote on this project. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the commissioner or to the alderman? Okay, not seeing any more hands go up. Do I have a motion on a proposed amendment to Air Rights Waterway Business Residential Plan Development number 1426, submitted by Bally's Chicago Operating Company, LLC, for the property generally located at 643-741 West Chicago Avenue and 641-739 North Halsted, finding that it meets the requirements for approval? Motion by anybody?
So move, Biagi.
Thank you, Commissioner Biagi. Do I have a second?
Escareño.
Second by Escareño. Roll call vote. Commissioner Barclay?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Biagi, can you confirm?
Yes.
Thank you. And I have a recusal from Commissioner Brumfield. I also have a recusal from Commissioner Alderman Burnett. Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Escareño, can you confirm?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores, I'm a no on this one. Commissioner Lyons is also a recusal. Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Novara,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Piñeiro,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Reyes,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Soto,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Tillman,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Tunney,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Villegas,
Yes, with the understanding that my colleague, Commissioner Burnett, will get that information.
thank you. Thank you. We'll make sure that makes it onto the record. And I think that's it for votes. Motion passes. Thank you to everyone presenting. We'll move on to item D2 on the agenda. The next item on the agenda as D2, a proposed amendment to residential commercial plan development number 1006, submitted by Parkside Associates LLC for the property generally located at 421-547 West Division Street. The applicant proposes to amend the development boundary by removing a portion of land. The remaining amended RCPD number 1006 boundary will be rezoned from RCPD number 1006 to DX-3, and then back to RCPD number 1006 as amended. The applicant will refine the subareas of the plan development for phase development of the site. Block 1, subarea C, is proposed to contain 6 dwelling units in a 42-foot tall walk-up building with 12 accessory parking spaces. Block 7, subarea D, will be subject to future site plan approval for a building with a maximum of 82 dwelling units and a height of 100 feet. The overall floor area ratio of the site will be 2.5, and this is also in the 27th Ward. Emily Thrun will provide the context overview and the applicant will present their proposal.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Emily Thrun with the Department of Planning and Development. The applicant appears here today because they are proposing to amend the development boundary of residential commercial plan development number 1006 by removing a portion of land. The remaining amended PD boundary will be rezoned from RCPD number 1006 to DX-3 and then back to RCPD number 1006 as amended. The applicant will redefine the subareas of the planned development for phase development of the site. Block 1, subarea C, is proposed to contain 6 dwelling units and a 42-foot tall walk-up building with 12 accessory parking spaces. Block 7, subarea D, will be subject to future site plan approval for a building with a maximum of 82 dwelling units and a height of 100 feet. The subject site is located in the near north side community area. The median age of the population is 34.7. 83% of the residents have a bachelor's degree or higher, and the median household income is just over $109,000. Almost 55% of residents take transit, walk, or bike to work. The proposal is located in a larger mixed income development referred to as Parkside of Old Town. The development is generally bounded by West Division Street to the north, Seaward Park and North Cleveland Avenue to the east, West Oak Street to the south, and North Larrabee Street to the west. The portion of the development that would be reviewed in this presentation is a proposed walk-up building located at the corner of North Larrabee Street and West Elm Street. The site is approximately just over a half mile southeast of the CTA's North and Clybourne Red Line stop, under a half mile west of the CTA Clark and Division Red Line stop, under a half mile northwest of the CTA Chicago Brown and Purple Line stop, and just over a half mile southwest of the CTA Sedgwick Brown and Purple Line stop. The site is also in close proximity to the number 8, 37, 66, and 70 CTA bus lines. The site is located in a transit-served location. The site is located in Plan Development 1006, which was approved in February 2006. The applicant proposes to amend the development boundary of PD 1006 by removing a portion of land referred to as Block 6 and 8 in the plan development and rezone them to DR-3. The blocks that are proposed to be removed are bounded by West Elm Street, North Cleveland Avenue, West Oak Street, and North Cambridge Avenue. The remaining amended PD boundary, shaded in yellow, will be rezoned from RCPD 1006 to DX-3 and then back to RCPD number 1006 as amended. A new PD is proposed to be created where Block 6 is located, and that will be reviewed after this presentation as a separate action item. The applicant will redefine the subareas of the planned development for phase development of the site. The remaining blocks in PD 1006 are developed, except for a portion of blocks 1 and 7. Block 1, subarea C highlighted in yellow, is proposed to contain 6 dwelling units and a 42-foot walk-up building with 12 accessory parking spaces. Block 7, subarea D, will be subject to future site plan approval for a building with a maximum of 82 dwelling units and a height of 100 feet. The surrounding land uses in the area are predominantly residential, commercial, institutional, mixed use, and vacant land. Here is an aerial view of the proposal looking southeast. The proposed revised PD boundaries are outlined in red. The current phase being reviewed is noted as 542 West Elm, and the property seeking future site plan approval is shaded in yellow. And here is a view of the proposal looking from the southeast. The proposal being reviewed today is dashed in orange. The next few slides include pedestrian level views of the proposed project. This is a view of the proposed walk-up building looking northeast from Larrabee. And here is a view looking southwest from the proposed playground. The proposal is subject to the Neighborhood Design Guidelines, ETOD Policy Plan, and the Reconnecting Neighborhoods Plan. Some of the goals of these documents include promoting design excellence, providing mixed income housing near public transportation, and providing for an improved pedestrian environment. Now I will turn the presentation over to Steve Friedland, the applicant's attorney, who will further explain the details of the proposal.
Good morning. My name is Steve Friedland. I'm an attorney with Applegate and Thorne Thompson, here representing Parkside Associates LLC, the applicant. Parkside Associates LLC is a joint venture between Holston Real Estate Development Corporation and the Cabrini Green LAC Community Development Corporation. And this group has been responsible for the Parkside development to date. I have on the call with me a number of people. I'll introduce them briefly and then proceed. We should have from Holston Development, Peter Holston and Irene Burke. And then our architecture team is made up of two different firms, LBBA, where we have Tyler Brown and Fred Greer, and from Brook Architecture, Kelly Williams and Susanna Ratana. I'm going to give a similar background to what Emily just recited. And Emily, if you show the sub-area plan, it might be easier for people to sort of once again understand what we're doing here. So the Parkside project began in the early 2000s on the site of the old Cabrini Green development. The land is all owned by CHA. Everything that you see there is CHA land. CHA engaged Holston Development Corporation as the master developer to provide new residential units, including CHA replacement units, affordable housing units, and market rate units throughout the entire 8-block plan development. So when the PD was passed in 2006, since that time, 6 of the blocks have seen significant development, and that is the area that you see outlined in bold. A total of 694 residential units in numerous mid-rise, walk-up, townhome buildings have been developed. And these units, again, comprise CHA replacement units, affordable housing units, and market rate units. There's also both condominium ownership units and rental units within the development. So at this time, as you see, there are 2 blocks, which are blocks 8 and 9. I'm sorry, 6 and 8, 6 and 8, which have seen no development. And when Holston and CHA proposed the next phase of Parkside, we realized that somewhat the prior success of the development created a problem because we've used up most of the development rights that exist in PD 1006. As I said, there's 694 units that have been developed to date, but there's only 782 units which were permitted in the planned development, leaving 88 units for 2 full city blocks, which just didn't seem appropriate. So what Parkside is proposing is 3 actions. 2 of those are before you today, and 1 will only be going to the Committee on Zoning. So the first action, which is this application before you right now, is to remove those 2 blocks, 6 and 8, from the plan development. So to amend the PD to remove it, and to permit some changes to the sub-area designations within the existing PD. Just briefly, I'll mention to you, because you'll see this later in our next presentation, but the second action, which isn't before you today, is that we're going to take the 2 blocks that are coming out of the PD, 6 and 8, and rezone them to an underlying DR-3 designation. That action then results in us having block 6, which is the northern of the two blocks, the one that Emily's showing you right now, which is the subject of the next application before you, where we're requesting block 6 be rezoned to a new plan development. So with that, I'll just I'll say with respect, as long as we've got this up here, and reiterate what Emily said. We'll remove block 6 and 8 from the existing PD 1006, and then we will create two new sub areas, sub area C, which you see in the highlighted, and sub area D, which is further south and is also a vacant parcel on what is referred to as block 7 of the PD, where we're requesting further development rights through a site plan approval process. The development in sub-area C itself is somewhat meager. It's only a 6-unit development, but coupled with what you're going to see in the next presentation, which is 93 new mixed development units on block 6, those two together make up the balance of the 99 units that Parkside Associates is proposing for its next phase. We can go to the timeline now, Emily. So this process has had a fair amount of community input and community process. What you see on the screen is really just the most recent aspect. This is a project that has been in this community since 2006. So there's been a lot of community engagement. But what you see here is the timeline associated with this plan development and the next plan development you'll see, where we filed in July. We've had a community meeting with the Near North Unity Program. We've had a community meeting with the Parkside Community Association and Parkside Condominium Association. These are the people who currently live in those 694 units. And obviously, we're now here at the Plan Commission. The plan would be to close next year and to have the project completed, over the next 18 months or 24 months. Before we leave the community outreach slide, I would like to say that as much as Peter Holston and the Holston team have been a constant throughout the Parkside project, the other real constant has been Alderman Burnett, who was alderman when this project was originally proposed and has been through all of the phases as it's gone forward. And really, his guidance and leadership are a significant reason for the success of Parkside. I'm sure he'll speak to this project as we move on. We can go to the next slide. With this, I'll turn it over. Tyler, are you on?
Yes. Yeah.
Great. I'm going to pass this over to Tyler Brown, who will go through the plans for the new building within the amended PD.
Okay. This is on block 1, this is building 6 in sub-area C. The site and floor plan show the 3 main parts of this part of the project. There's a 3-story walk-up building holding the corner and completing the block, the southwest corner. That building has 6 3-bedroom units. There's an expanded play area at the northeast corner, the top right of that plan, and a dog park at the southeast corner. The upper floor plans, it's again 6 3-bedroom units. And go to the next slide. So yeah, three floors, 2 units per floor, with a common entry off of Elm Street, and then a roof plan. The elevations of the building, next slide. Should point out that the building is all precast construction, which is a durable and economical construction, create a really tight, well-insulated building envelope and control sound well from environmental sound and from unit to unit. The exterior of the building is designed to relate both to the original, mostly masonry Parkside faces to the north and east of this site, as well as the more recent precast phase to the south with a mix of inset brick, smooth and textured precast panels. And because the building is really visible from all four sides, it doesn't really have a backside, so that treatment carries all the way around all four sides of the building. The site is organized and designed to create a safe and engaging pedestrian environment, with the building holding the block end and addressing the primary corner at Elm and Larrabee, and respecting the neighborhood scale and context. The parking is on the interior of the block next to the existing parking lot, and taking advantage of an existing curb cut on Larrabee. It also eliminates a second existing curb cut off of Cambridge at the east end of the site. And it also extends green spaces with amenities for both project residents and the greater neighborhood. Kind of at the right in there is a tot lot or the play lot that's designed for older kids ages 5 to 12. It's adjacent and complements it's adjacent to and complements a tot lot that was part of the previous development, and then a dog park at the corner of Elm and Cambridge, which has been a long part of the plan for the larger Parkside development. Go to the next slide, which is a landscape plan. Again, showing the walk-up building at the lower left corner with a landscape buffer between Larrabee and the building at the left side. The play lot at the top right-hand corner with equipment for older kids. And then the dog park at the corner of Elm and Cambridge. The dog park has two sections for both small dogs and large dogs. Exterior material palette. Again, the building exterior is all precast construction with smooth and textured precast panels and inset brick that relate the project to both the original Parkside phases and the more recent phases, and create interest and activity at the pedestrian level. The project is subject to the Sustainable Development Policy, of course, and will comply with the SDP by focusing on energy efficiency, water use reduction, and sustainable transportation options. The building itself is designed to meet Energy Star requirements, or designed to meet Energy Star and to exceed the energy code by at least 5%, which provides a direct benefit to low-income residents by reducing their energy costs. And the project is a regulated development under the stormwater ordinance and will meet the detention requirements by using permeable pavers and on-site storage below the parking area.
I'll take it back from here, Tyler. Thank you. So this slide shows the affordable housing breakdown. Now, hopefully we won't confuse everyone again, but this is for all 99 units that are proposed. So the 6 units that you just saw Tyler speak to, but in a moment when we take up the next PD, there will be 93 units in that planned development. And our mix is like all of the projects in the Parkside development. There are CHA replacement units, affordable housing units, and market rate units. We have basically 65% of the units are either CHA replacement units or affordable housing. So, and then approximately 34% of the project is market rate. Go to the next slide. So we think there are a number of community benefits associated with this latest phase of Parkside. We're going to be creating up to 91% full-time equivalent construction jobs. The project's going to meet or exceed all of the MBE and WBE local hiring goals. There's significant participation at all levels of MBE and WBE in the project, including our architect of record on the 2 of the buildings you're going to see in a moment, and our general contractor, our structural engineer. The Cabrini Green LAC CDC is a 40% owner of the development, and the proceeds they receive through the development go to support the organization's mission and local community initiatives. There are significant amenities throughout the entire project, including community rooms and decks and a patio and fitness center, and social services that are provided to the residents by Holston Human Capital Development. And obviously, there's also public amenities, including that dog park and playground, which Tyler just spoke to. With that, we're happy to take any questions on this first PD. I'll turn it back to you, Emily.
Thank you. The Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the materials submitted by the applicant and has concluded that the proposal would be appropriate for the following reasons. The proposal is in compliance with the plan development standards and guidelines. The proposal promotes economically beneficial development patterns that are compatible with the character of the existing neighborhood. The proposal ensures a level of amenities appropriate to the nature and scale of the project. The proposal promotes safe and efficient circulation of pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists. The proposal is designed to promote pedestrian interest, safety, and comfort. And the proposal provides adequate open spaces and recreation areas. Please refer to my staff report for further details on this project and plans identified here today. Based on the foregoing, the zoning administrator recommends that the application to amend Plan Development number 1006 be approved and forwarded to the City Council Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily, for the presentation. Is there any discussion or comments, questions from the commissioners on this item? And again, this is only for the amendment to the PD, right? And we're gonna have two votes on this.
Correct.
So I'm not seeing any hands go up. I'll give it a few more seconds. If not, we can go call for a motion. Okay, Alderman Burnett, would you like to make a comment on this?
Yeah, of course, I have to recuse myself from voting, but I support this 100%. But I am a little concerned with CHA when we take these properties out of there, because we have a developer that has momentum, that's building up a decent community. And it'd be great if they could consider revisiting with him so that we can keep this momentum going. We've been working in this area for over 23 years or more, and it's just taken too long. And I'm afraid if we try to reinvent the wheel, that it may postpone things even further. So I just want to mention that, but I do support this, but I want them to consider keeping the momentum going, because we need to get more units built over here on these properties. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alderman. Any follow-up comments from the team?
No, we certainly could take any questions, but thank you.
Commissioner Soto?
Just a question in terms of the timeline that you presented. We know that right now that there are delays in concrete being available, this being 100% precast building. Just wondering how accurate your timeline is, as well as the delays that we're experiencing with ComEd and them providing transformers and other items, because I know how important it is to provide affordable housing. So I just wanted to hear from the team what those timelines really look like.
I would, if Peter or Irene are on the call, they may be the best to respond to that.
Yeah, hi, this is Peter Holston with Holston Development. Commissioner, I understand your concern. We have been in contact with several precast companies about that subject, and we're going to choose one or two of them to work with us. They claim that if the sooner the better in terms of locking up. locking up the need for the precast. It's something that they can, put an order in now. Because we have chosen a general contractor, GMA, headed by Cornelius Griggs. And that's one of the first things that we will be locking up is the precast based on our design. So we share your concern, and we're going to try and get that locked up as soon as we can.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the commissioners? If not, we'll go ahead and call for a motion on this. Do I have a motion? Did anybody else want to make a comment? Okay. Do I have a motion on a proposed amendment to residential commercial plan development number 1006 submitted by Parkside Associates LLC for the property generally located at 421-547 West Division Street, finding that it meets the requirements for approval?
So move Reyes.
Second, Biagi.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Thank you, Commissioner Biagi. Roll call vote. Commissioner Barclay? No longer here. Okay. Can you confirm your vote, Commissioner Biagi?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Brumfield?
Yes.
Thank you. I have a recusal from Commissioner Burnett on this one. Commissioner Cox?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Escareno?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores is a yes. Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Novara?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Piñeiro? Not here anymore. Commissioner Reyes?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Soto?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Tillman?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Tunney?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Villegas? Not here anymore. Okay. Motion passes.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Garza. I've joined the meeting now. I'm a yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Garza.
Thank
And
you.
we have you as present.
Thank you.
Okay, motion passes. That was item D2. Now we'll go on to item 3, which is the same team. The next item on the agenda is D3, a proposed residential plan development submitted by Parkside Associates LLC for the property generally located at 1101-1129 North Cambridge Avenue, 500-520 West Hobby Street, and 1100-1128 North Cleveland Avenue. The applicant proposes to rezone the property from residential commercial plan development number 1006 to DR-3, and then to a residential plan development to construct 3 buildings not to exceed 105 feet in height, and which in total will contain 93 dwelling units and 65 accessory vehicular parking spaces. The overall floor area ratio of the plan development will be 2.0, and this is also in the 27th Ward. Emily Thrun will provide the context overview, and the applicant will present their proposal.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Emily Thrun with the Department of Planning and Development. The applicant appears here today because they are proposing to rezone the property from residential commercial plan development number 1006 to DR-3, and then to residential plan development and to a residential plan development to construct 3 buildings not to exceed 105 feet in height with a total of 93 dwelling units and 65 accessory vehicular parking spaces. The subject site is located in the near North Side community area. This is the same data from the prior presentation, so I won't go over that. As referenced before, the proposal is located in a larger mixed income development referred to as Parkside of Old Town. The portion of the development that will be reviewed in this presentation is the new planned development in a portion of land that was referred to as Block 6 in the previous presentation. It is bounded by Wayman Church to the north, North Cleveland Avenue to the east, West Hobby Street to the south, and North Cambridge Avenue to the west. The site is currently located within planned development number 1006 within Block 6. The site, hatched in black, is proposed to be removed from planned development 1006, rezoned to DR-3, and then to a residential planned development. The site is currently vacant and the surrounding land uses in the area are predominantly residential, commercial, institutional, mixed use, and vacant land. Here is an aerial view of the proposal looking southeast. The proposed project site and PD boundaries are outlined in red. And here is a view of the proposal looking from the southeast. The proposal being reviewed is dashed in orange and contains a proposed mid-rise building labeled as Building 22 and proposed townhome and walk-up buildings labeled as Buildings 20 and 21. The next few slides include pedestrian level views of the proposed project. This is a view of the proposed mid-rise building looking east from Hobby. This is a view of the base of the proposed mid-rise building looking west from Hobby. This is a view of the proposed townhome and walk-up buildings looking south from Cleveland. And here is a view of the base of the proposed mid-rise building and walk-up and townhome buildings looking north at the corner of Hobby and Cambridge. The proposal is subject to the Neighborhood Design Guidelines, ETOD Policy Plan, and the Reconnecting Neighborhoods Plan. Some of the goals of these documents include promoting design excellence, providing mixed income housing near public transportation, and providing for an improved pedestrian environment. Now I will turn the presentation over to Steve Friedland, the applicant's attorney, who will further explain the details of the proposal.
Thank you, Emily. Again, for the record, Steve Friedland with Applegate and Thorne Thompson here with the Parkside Associate team. I will try to be brief because this is, as I said earlier, sort of the second part of what is the latest phase of the Parkside development. This block, Block 6, which is south of the Wayman Church, will be redeveloped with 93 units. And when you take that with the 6 units that were just reviewed in the prior application, that's 99 units of new housing, mostly affordable, within the project. We can go to the next slide. This project really, as I say, is part of the other project. Some of our rezoning requirements and different PDs is really, the technical way that we got this project approved, but it has always been presented to the community as a 99 unit project. And you see the timeline there. With that, I'll turn this over to Tyler again to start taking us through the plans for this block.
Thanks, Tyler Brown again, principal of LBBA. I should probably first point out again that LBBA is working with Brook Architecture on the architectural design for this project. To be hopefully efficient with everyone's time, I'll present an overall view of the project, but Susanna and Kelly from Brook Architecture are available to answer any questions about their buildings specifically. This is the Block 6 site and ground floor plans, just one block to the east and south of Block 1 that we looked at in the previous presentation. Consists of three buildings, all arranged to define the street edge and block edges. Building 20 on the left facing Cambridge and building 21 on the right facing Cleveland are designed by Brook Architecture, and both are 3-story walk-ups with a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom flats, and connected 2-story, 4-bedroom townhouses with private entries. Building 22 at the south end of the block is designed by LBBA is an 8-story elevator building. It has engaged 2-story, 3 and 4 bedroom townhouse units with private entries facing east on Cleveland and south toward Hobby. The main entry is at the corner of Hobby and Cleveland Street at the southeast corner of the block, with more active uses like the community room, management office, and community terrace focused on the west end of that building. Go to the next slide. The second and third floor plans, buildings 20 and 21 show the upper floors of the 3-story walk-ups and the 2-story townhouse units. And then in building 22, as you go up the building, it transitions to a double-loaded corridor with a mix of efficiency 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments. As the building gets higher, the floor plates step back to reduce the kind of bulk of the 8-story building on that end of the block, related to the surrounding context, and also to create these both common and private roof decks and amenity spaces at the roofs of the building as it steps up. Next slide is just the overall roof plan of the block. And getting into the elevations, buildings 20 and 21 are similar in elevation treatment. So you can see it's a mix of the 3-story section, 2-story townhouse sections, the varied heights and steps in the street elevations provide variety and relief and interest on the street facades. And like building 6 in the previous presentation, these are all precast construction, and the exterior materials consist of a mix of thin brick, smooth and textured precast panels that relate to the surrounding neighborhood buildings, including those in the existing PD and in the original PD and recent phases to the west. Building 22 is the 8-story building at the south end of the block. Like the other buildings in the development, it's an all precast building. The bottom 2 floors of the building have a faceted treatment to define the base of the building, and the main entry at the west end on the left side of this view, and the entries to the townhouse style units are designed to activate and add interest to the space around the building. The upper floors of the building are lighter and step back and have a staggered window pattern to break down the scale of the building and be sensitive to the scale of surrounding blocks. The north elevation on the next slide is similar to the south, in that kind of faceted base continues all the way around the building. And thank you. The east elevation on the left faces Cleveland, shows more of the engaged townhouse unit entries at the base of the building and the sort of stair stepping of the mass of the building going up the tower. And at the west end, that is the main lobby, or the main entry and lobby on the right-hand side, and the community room and fitness center on the left-hand side behind those large glazed openings. This is just a building section cut in the east-west direction that shows the stacking and stair stepping of the building mass, as well as some parking that's tucked under the north side of that building. We'll get to in a future slide. This is just a detail of the facade of the base of the building that shows that kind of faceted treatment. That's intended to articulate the base of the building, add interest, and it provides some depth and shadow at the the pedestrian and add interest to the pedestrian scale. Like block 1 in the previous presentation, the site is organized to create a safe and engaging pedestrian environment with parking on the interior of the block with just 2 curb cuts at the north end of the site, but one off of Cambridge and one off of Cleveland. Again, the buildings are arranged to define the block and street edges. And the treatment of the base of the buildings is intended to create interest and activity at the pedestrian level. The massing of the buildings and the facade treatments respect and are designed to integrate into the surrounding neighborhood. The landscape plan. So this again shows the surface parking on the interior of the block, the buildings, defining the street edge. There's bike parking dispersed all the way around the site. In terms of landscape treatment, there are private spaces in front of the townhouse units that define the entries to those separate townhouse units, and then a plaza at the main entry of building 22 at the southeast corner, and adjacent to the community room in building 22 is the that terrace, outdoor terrace. It opens up, faces Cambridge Street, and provides some relief in that block between buildings 20 and 22. Similar material palette to the previous presentation. A mix of precast panels, but smooth and textured with inset brick. Yeah, go to the next one. And again, it's designed to comply with sustainable development policy, focusing on energy efficiency, water use reduction, and sustainable transportation options. And again, is subject to the stormwater ordinance and will achieve the detention requirements using permeable pavers and a large volume of on-site storage below the parking area.
Thank you, Tyler. I'll take it back here. Again, I stated this in the prior presentation, but just for the record, so it's clear, the 99 units that will be developed in the next phase will have over 65% of the units as affordable. There will be CHA replacement units and affordable housing units at the 50% and 60% levels. You can go to the next slide. Our community benefits are, as I said, I stated them before, but I do want to highlight again the true benefit of this project of creating jobs, exceeding or meeting or exceeding the MBE and WB requirements, and providing the benefit that it does to our not-for-profit partner, Cabrini Green LAC CDC, and having various amenities within the development. Before I hand it back to Emily, I would just like to say that our development team really wants to thank the staff at the city, especially Emily and Noah. This was a very complicated plan development because we took a 15 or 16-year-old plan development and had to sort of retrofit it and create a new PD. And as you can see from all the talking I've done today, there's a lot of complication here, but we really appreciate the help that staff provided us to get to this point. Thank you.
Thank you. The Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the materials submitted by the applicant and has concluded that the proposal would be appropriate for the following reasons. The proposal is in compliance with the plan development standards and guidelines. The proposal promotes economically beneficial development patterns that are compatible with the character of the existing neighborhood. The proposal ensures a level of amenities appropriate to the nature and scale of the project. The proposal promotes safe and efficient circulation of pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists. The proposal is designed to promote pedestrian interests, safety, and comfort, and the proposal provides a variety of housing types. Please refer to my staff report for further details on this project and plans identified here today. Based on the foregoing, the zoning administrator recommends that the application to establish a residential plan development be approved and forwarded to the City Council Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily and team again. Are there any additional questions or comments for the team on this item? Okay, doesn't seem like we have any. Would Alderman Burnett like to make an additional statement on this? He may be on his other meeting. Okay. If not, I'll go ahead and ask for a motion on this item. Do I have a motion on a proposed residential plan development submitted by Parkside Associates LLC for the property generally located at 1101-1129 North Cambridge Avenue, 500-520 West Hobby Street, and 1100-1128 North Cleveland Avenue, finding that it meets the requirements for approval.
So moved.
I'll second
Motion.
Garza.
Motion by Lyon, second by Commissioner Garza. Roll call vote. Commissioner Biaggi?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Brumfield?
Yes.
Thank you. I have a recusal for Commissioner Burnett on this one. Commissioner Cox?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Escareño? She may be gone. Commissioner Flores is a yes on this one. Commissioner Garza, can you confirm your vote?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lyons, can you confirm your vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Novara?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Piñeiro? I think he stepped away. Commissioner Reyes?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Soto?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Tillman?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Tunney? Stepped away.
Chairwoman, Commissioner Escareno joined by her phone. She may have to put *6 to unmute because she's on the phone now.
Okay, we'll give her a few seconds.
Doesn't look like she's responding. Okay.
No, okay. Commissioner Villegas, is he still around? Not hearing anything, okay. Any word from Commissioner Escareño? Doesn't look like it, okay. Well, I think we still have enough votes. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 4.
Chairwoman, I'm sorry,
Yes.
I could not access I could not unmute myself, but I'm a yes on that. This is
Okay.
Escareño.
We have you on the record for that last item, item D3 as a yes. Thank you, Commissioner Escareño. Okay, item number 4. The next item on the agenda is D4, a proposed industrial corridor map amendment located within the North Branch Industrial Corridor submitted by Chai Properties LLC for the property generally located at 1226 West Augusta Boulevard. The applicant proposes to rezone the property from M3-3 Heavy Industry District to a B2-3 Neighborhood Mixed Use District to allow for the construction of a new 3-story, 3-unit residential building with basement and 2 off-street parking spaces. And this is also in the 27th Ward. Joshua Sun will provide the context overview and the applicant will present their proposal.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Josh Sun with the Department of Planning and Development. This proposed industrial corridor map amendment is generally located at 1226 West Augusta Boulevard and is located within the Westtown community area within the 27th Ward, as mentioned previously. The applicant is Chai Properties LLC. The request is being submitted as an industrial corridor map amendment, as mentioned, pursuant to the provisions of the Chicago Zoning Ordinance Title 17 of the Municipal Code of Chicago. Due to the fact that the applicant seeks to reclassify the subject property from M3-3 Heavy Industry District to B2-3 Neighborhood Mixed Use District. As you can see on this map, circled in blue, the subject site is located in the central planning region in the Westtown community area, which had a population of about 87,700 people in 2020. The largest type of housing consisted of 3 or 4 units, which made up approximately 34.5% of the community area. The second largest housing type consisted of 5 to 9 units, and this is made up of 22.2% of the Westtown area. In terms of housing size, 2 bedrooms have the highest share, while 3-bedroom residential spaces came in second. This aerial illustrates the subject property's proximity to the Kennedy and the rail, which is to the west. You can see here the property circled in red. and the river, which is this located just to the east. The proposed site is located within the central sub area of the North Branch Framework Plan. As you can see on this slide, the property is circled in yellow. And this slide shows that it is not located within the Planned Manufacturing District 2 or PMD2, even though it is located within the North Branch Industrial Corridor. This depicts the site in relation to its current zoning surroundings. Properties to the north of the site are zone PD 1487 and Planned Manufacturing PMD2. To the east, south, and west of the site are residential properties, which are zone B1-2, B2-2, RT-4, and B3-3. And with that, I will hand over the presentation to the applicant team. They're available. Perfect.
I'm gonna get
Great. Please state your name for the record as well.
Sam Arterina. I'm the project architect for the project. So basically we're looking at just infilling a vacant lot and to match the, pretty much match the context of the block. Just looking to put a 3-unit building in, which will match what's there now on the block. This is just a site plan showing our property with all the other properties on the block. This is basically the first site plan showing our site plan with 3 parking spots in back, the porch, the building outline. There's like a little elevation showing our building in between all the other existing buildings that are there currently. That's another, there's just a straight elevation showing. These are the floor plans, basement floor plan, first foundation plan, first, second, third, and the roof. Some side elevations, more side elevations. Section, this is the brick. We're going to use a modular brick in the front, and that'll be a matching brick on the side. It'll be a utility brick, which is a little larger brick, but it'll be brick all the way around the building. No block.
All right, thanks. So the Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the materials submitted by the applicant, and we have concluded that the proposed amendment would be appropriate for the following reasons. The rezoning of the site from the central sub area of the corridor from an M3-3 district to a B2-3 district would not adversely affect the rest of the North Branch Industrial Corridor. The proposed rezoning to B2-3 is consistent with this portion of the North Branch Industrial Corridor. The proposed map amendment contemplates a zoning designation which is equivalent to the designations on parcels of land to the east and west and south of the site, and is thus consistent with other use types and designations in the surrounding areas. The proposed use of multifamily residential is compatible with the neighboring residential uses, and the subject site will be improved with a residential building of a comparable size and scale, again, to immediately adjacent lots, and such will not provide a changing context of the immediate vicinity. Please refer to my staff report for further details regarding this project and the plans identified here today. Based on the foregoing, it is the recommendation of the zoning administrator of the Department of Planning and Development that this application for an industrial corridor map amendment be approved and forwarded to the City Council Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh, for the presentation. Pretty straightforward project. Not seeing any hands from the commissioners. Give them a few seconds. Would Alderman Burnett like to make a statement on this item? If he's still around.
Yeah, I support it 100%. The community supported. They made good negotiations with the adjoining neighbors. So I ask for the committee support. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Any last minute comments or questions from the commissioners? If not, do I have a motion on a proposed industrial corridor map amendment located within the North Branch Industrial Corridor submitted by Chi-Side Properties LLC for the property generally located at 1226 West Augusta Boulevard, finding that it meets the requirements for approval.
So moved, Escareño.
Thank you, Commissioner Scareño. Do I have a second?
Second, Tillman.
Second, Commissioner Tillman. Roll call vote. Commissioner Biaggi.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Brentfield.
Yes.
Thank you. I also have a recusal from Commissioner Burnett on this one. Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Escareño.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores is a yes. Commissioner Garza. Commissioner Garza, we can't hear you. Okay, I'll give him a few seconds. Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Novara.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Reyes.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Soto.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Tillman, can you confirm your vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Tunney, are you still here? Not hearing him. Oh, there he is. Commissioner Tunney?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Villegas? Stepped away, I think. Commissioner Garza?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry about that, Madam Chair.
Perfect.
I'm a yes. Thanks.
Thank you. We have you for that. Motion passes. Congratulations to the team.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners and aldermen. Appreciate all the work, hard work putting this together.
Thank you. Okay. Item number 5. The next item on the agenda is D5, a proposed technical amendment to business plan development number 468 submitted by Northwestern Memorial Healthcare for the property generally located at 201-221 East Erie Street, 631-649 North St. Clair Street, and 200-212 East Ontario Street. The amendment to the plan development would allow medical services as a permitted use and add a pedestrian bridge. No further changes are proposed to the plan development, and this is in the 42nd ward. Fernando Espinosa will provide the context overview, and the applicant will present their proposal.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, for the record, Fernando Espinosa with the Department of Planning and Development. With me today are members of the development team who will be available to answer questions from the commission after the presentation. The site is in the near north side community area. According to CMAP data, the total population for the near north side community area is 105,481. The top 3 land uses are transportation, multifamily residential, commercial. The median age of this area is 34.7. The project site is directly south of Northwestern Memorial Hospital Culture Pavilion. Project site is currently zoned Plan Development 468 and consists of a mix of uses, which includes office, hotel, ground floor retail, and accessory parking contained within a single 28-story building. The hotel portion is currently operated by Hyatt-Centric Magnificent Mile Hotel. The site directly north, as previously stated, is Northwestern Memorial Campus, currently zone IP83. Now I will turn over the presentation to Ms. Carol Stubblefield, who represents the applicant. Carol?
Thank you, Fernando. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Carol Stubblefield
with Neil and Leroy. Office is located at 20 South Clark, here on behalf of the applicant Northwestern Memorial Healthcare. With me today is Charles Cloutier from Northwestern. He will be available to answer any questions. We also have Jeff Sod, architect of record from Gensler Architects, who will briefly present a few drawings and the floor plans for the proposed repurpose and for the medical service. Next slide, please. As Fernando mentioned, this is a technical amendment to an existing plan development to add medical service as a permitted use to the existing PD. Also, as Fernando mentioned, the subject property is adjacent to the Northwestern Memorial Healthcare Medical Center, and it's directly across the street, south across East Erie from Galter Pavilion. Next, please. The proposed medical use will not change the footprint, height, setbacks of the existing building, and it will not change vehicular traffic, flow patterns, or increase the volume of traffic from the existing uses approved in the original plan development. And you can see from this slide that there is sufficient parking sufficient capacity parking in several garages within a 2-block radius. Next, please. The project, Northwestern proposes to meet the city's goals for sustainable development, diversity participation, and residency hiring goals. This application has complied with all notice requirements and obtained the required approvals from the Department of Transportation, Bureau of Fire, and the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. Project has the full support of the community and Alderman Riley. I'd like to now turn the presentation over to Jeff Sod, who will briefly take you through just a few of the slides to show the change in floor plan layout and the proposed pedestrian bridge. Jeff?
Thank you, Carol, and thanks commissioners and aldermen for having us today. Next slide, please. As you see, this is the existing building on 633 North Sinclair, the proposed building, and what we're looking at is really repurposing the 5th and 6th floor to become the medical office function of the project. Next slide, please. As Carol said, the first floor will not be modified at all of the existing building. We will be using the elevators in red, and then the second floor adjacent to it, there'll be minor renovation where the bridge is coming into the building. Also, this is for patients and visitors and staff to go from the Galter building into the Hyatt building. So these are the 2 floors where there'll be minimal work done. Next slide. And as you go up into the building, the 5th and 6th floor of the hotel area, currently there's floor 2 through 18 is hotel function. That will be modifying those floors to become medical services. Also on the 7th floor for the elevator overrun that goes into the building, we'll be modifying 2 rooms on that floor as well, just for the modifications of the elevator. Next slide, please. As we look at the connection piece to 633 North Sinclair from the Galter building, also the pedestrian contents, we're modifying the bridge to come into places on the facade that are open into the building. Next slide. Here's a blow up of the bridge. We are looking at a small slope in the bridge. We're looking at doors to separate the bridge. Also, it's 23 feet above the Erie Street drive aisle, and these show the connections of pedestrian routes and connectivity of the project. Next slide. And as you see the image on the left, there is one Northwestern existing bridge already. We are proposing a new bridge in the foreground, and we're also proposing bird safe glass on this bridge and to keep with the standard and quality of projects that Northwestern have brought to the community. Next slide.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
For the record, again, Fernando Espinoza with Department of Planning. The Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the project materials submitted and has concluded that the proposal is appropriate for this site and supports this amendment for the following Reasons. The addition of medical service as a permitted use to the PD will not negatively impact the remaining uses on this site, the adjacent uses to this site, nor uses in the immediate area. The addition of a pedestrian bridge to connect Plan Development 468 to Plan Development number 3 will improve pedestrian connectivity for both patients and pedestrians. Finally, please refer to the department's staff report for further details for the plan development. Based on the foregoing, it is the recommendation of the zoning administrator that the application for an amendment to Plan Development 468 be approved. And the recommendation to City Council, Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards be passage recommended. This concludes the presentation. Staff and the development team are available to answer any questions from the Plan Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Fernando and team, for the presentation. Do the commissioners have any questions of the staff or the applicant? Not seeing any hands go up. Is Alderman Riley or his staff available for making a statement on this item?
Chairwoman, I believe Alderman Riley left to go back to Finance Committee, but he did submit a letter of support for the proposal, and that's on file.
Okay, thank you. So I'm not seeing any hands go up from the commissioners. So if there's no more questions, I'll go ahead and ask for a motion on the item. Do I have a motion on a proposed technical amendment to Business Plan Development number 468 submitted by Northwestern Memorial Healthcare for the property generally located at 201-221 East Erie Street, 631-649 North St. Clair Street, and 200-212 East Ontario Street, finding that it meets the requirements for approval?
Ms. Garza, I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Do I have a second?
Second, Novara.
Thank you, Commissioner Novara. Roll call vote. Commissioner Biaggi?
Yes.
Thank you. And I have a recusal from Commissioner Brumfield. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Burnett, are you still here? No, okay. Commissioner Cox?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Escareño, can you confirm your vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores is a yes. Commissioner Garza, can you confirm your vote?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also have a recusal from Commissioner Lyons.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Novara, I think you had a motion on this, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'm a yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Reyes?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Soto?
All right, it takes me forever to unmute. Yes.
No worries. Thank you. Commissioner Tillman?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Tunney, are you still here?
Commissioner Tunney is a yes.
Thank you. Not sure if Villegas is back. Doesn't look like it. Okay. Motion passes. Congratulations to the team.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful holiday.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
And there are no items this month for informational presentations. So we'll go on to adjourn. This concludes this month's meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move Biaggi.
Thank you, Commissioner Biaggi. Do I have a second one?
Second.
Reyes. Oh,
Second by Reyes. Thank you. Actually, okay, roll call vote. So Biagi was a yes. Commissioner Brentfield still here?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Burnett? Not hearing him. Commissioner Cox?
Yes.
Commissioner Escareño? Thank you. Commissioner Flores is a yes. Commissioner Garza?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Novara?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Piñeiro? He's been gone, I think. Yes. Commissioner Reyes?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Soto?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Tillman?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Tenney?
Yes.
There he is. Thank you. And I think that's it. So this month's meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission is now adjourned at 1:24. Thank you, everyone. Have a great holiday.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Chair.
See you next year.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
You too.
Bye.